Athletes are always challenging themselves to get better. You've seen this in all sports. Esports is no exception. You can never predict the outcome. The only thing you can control is how ready you are. Over and over, players adapt, trying to improve, fighting hard for every percent gained. Give everything you've got to the challenge and show your finest. Bring your best out. Strive for perfection. It's our goal too.
Hello PUBG esports fans. The PUBG Global Invitational.S, our biggest tournament yet, begins in February. With a tournament this big, there's a lot to take in. So let's take a look at the format and rules of PGI.S 2021. Pgis.'s main event, the weekly series, will be held for a total of 6 weeks starting from February 8th. It is divided into the weekly survival taking place on weekdays and the weekly final held over the weekend. Unlike the previous global tournaments, points are not accumulated week over week, giving every team the same fighting chance each week. Weekly Survival features 16 matches held across 3 weekdays. The goal for teams is simple: win a single chicken dinner. Once you win, you stop playing and move on to the weekly final. The next team on the waitlist takes your place and a new match begins. This list is determined by ranked decision matches to decide the order our 32 teams participate. These 24 deciding matches take place over 3 days starting from February 5th and will divide our teams into 4 different groups. The top 16 teams from these groups face off in the weekly survival matches first. The weekly final is more like the PUBG esports you're used to. 10 matches are held across 2 days, and points the teams earn are added up to decide their final ranking for the week. The 16 teams that played in the weekly final get the first shot at next week's weekly survival, and the remaining 16 teams decide their placement on the waitlist during a bottom 16 match held every Saturday, before the weekly final. From there, the cycle continues throughout the tournament. One of the big differences with Pgis is that instead of receiving prize money based on your final rank is determined by how much prize money you've won. We're awarding prize money every week, and the team who has collected the most at the end will be crowned our Pgis champion. Here's how it breaks down. The first 8 teams to win a weekly survival match each week take home an automatic cash prize, earning more the sooner they win. From there, the winners of the weekly finals tournament get an even bigger cash prize. The first place prize being $25,000 on week 1, and growing to an astounding $500,000 by week 6, giving teams lots of opportunity to catch up and claim the title. Winning isn't the only way teams are earning cash though. 30% of the total profit made from Pgis item sales goes back to participating teams. This money will be distributed based on the percentage of money each team won in the tournament, with bigger rewards for the higher performing teams. So, not only do you get cool skins and voting coupons to earn even more cool skins, but you're also helping your favorite teams bring home more well-deserved prize money. Win-win! That about wraps up our overview of the PUBG Global Invitational.S. Initial ranking decisions happen on February 5th, and the first official matches kick off on February 8th. So be sure to tune in, pick your winners, and cheer on your favorite teams across 8 weeks of intense PUBG action.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back once again to the weekly version of the PGI.S's version of the Last Chance Saloon, Week 2, Bottom 16 reseeding matches. I am Porosaurus, once again joined by our number one player analyst, Godspeed, and the number one Cupid Shuffler, NA, Cameron Davis. Walk it out yourself, young man. How are you boys doing?
Doing really well, man. It's been a hell of a tournament so far, man, and I'm glad there's still so much left. There's been some heartbreak, there's been some triumphs, but overall, I mean, here we go, starting with the bottom 16 yet again in week 2.
Cameron, what do you got? I mean, we had some great games this weekend, and now we've seen, I think you got a couple of teams that we've seen before in the bottom 16, a few more new squads, new faces, as it were, coming in this time around. Yeah, any surprises on that end for you?
There's a number of surprises that I think we can go over. Obviously, Sonics, I think, is up there. FaZe as well are the first two that come to mind. Seeing Kia, Damwon Kia, still down here is also going to be a big disappointment. But honestly, previously, last weekend, looking at the bottom 16, there were still disappointments that week as well. And a number of them, like Damwon Kia, it's fine. We'll go over it. They really were able to pop off, though. So I'm really excited to see what being in the bottom 16 is going to do for a number of these teams that are still trying to get their feet under them, still trying to get this format into their head and figure out how in the world do we play this whole PGI.S. It's 2 months. At some point, we're going to have to stop saying that. But I think in the second week, this is like the tail end of when we can remind everyone that this is a long event. It's an endurance, not a sprint.
Yeah,
indeed it is. Word up. And what's the word? The word is leaderboards. Let's take a look at what we've got here, our overall scoreboards. And this is basically just going to be our teams that we have so far. So you do bring up FaZe, you do bring up Sonics. Who else do we have in there that's really kind of catching your eye, Godspeed?
I mean, for me, TSM, they had multiple heartbreak games. They had ended either in second or in the top 3. I think the biggest one that comes to mind was the game on that compound just north of Shelter, where they got second place. I believe it was to Afrika Freaks. That was just a really rough game. It was a 4-on-2. You also have, I mean, FaZe, even though we've already talked about them, they've just really been struggling to get anything going, and that's a squad that, quite frankly, just shouldn't. Sonics, obviously, you know, they had some close games as well, but I also really want to talk about Damwon. I mean, when you have players like Under and Indigo in your squad and you still are struggling to kind of get these wins, I mean, something is going on, because they're even just having issues winning team fights, which is not something that we would ever expect that roster to do.
Maybe getting in their own heads a little bit. Cameron, is there anybody else on this leaderboard that you want to point out?
Those are basically it. I'm excited to see what Digital Athletics can bring. They've had basically the entire week off, because if they were 32nd overall, 16th at the end of their last bottom 16 the previous weekend. In that case, you do not play during the weekly survival at all. They have had 5 days of break, so we'll see if that leaves them a little cold, or if that is a good sort of rest time for them to really get back into it. Because remember, Digital Athletics during weekly survival of week 1, they were sort of in a situation that TSM for this previous week was, where they were performing so well consistently throughout. I think they were in all 16 games, if not close to it, but they just couldn't get that win. And I think that tilted them, because their performance during the weekend was, I'll say it, atrocious for the level that they had shown us just previously. So hopefully that this week is allowing them to sort of get back into their heads, untilt themselves, and come back to the DA that we know and love.
That is a lot of European squads in that bottom 16 here, Godspeed. Is that indicative of anything, or are we thinking that this is just a week 2 anomaly? We probably won't see this many Euro squads in there again.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to say though, man, because this format is very punishing. I mean, again, you look at a team like TSM, who's been on the cusp multiple times. That's got to be very demoralizing to be that close and to fail. And as far as Europe goes, I mean, they're not the only region that has teams struggling. Obviously, like you look at a team like T1, Starlord, Aqua 5, other members on that team that just make T1 such a massive threat, yet they too are just fall apart towards the end game. I mean, some games they've even had 4 up and they just couldn't even get anything done. So whatever these missteps are, they're not just bound to one region. I think a lot of the regions have been struggling. But that being said, I got to give a shout out to North America. I think all the teams, I'm so proud of all the players coming out of NA, man. You guys have been killing it, so keep it up. Even Sonics, who find themselves here right now, I'm proud of all those guys.
They have been doing pretty well so far, but this is still technically group stage time, right? I mean, I think Uncivil said it in his interview. This is NA has shown to be really good at the very beginning of things, but then when it comes down to brass tacks at the end, when the money's on the line, that's where we want to see the real delivery kind of come through. Cameron, so now we are out of the winner takes all, the chicken dinner takes all format of trying to get to that finals. Now we're back to super settings for these bottom 16. Who do you have your eye on for this weekend in this particular lobby to really benefit from having us go back to that super settings?
I think FaZe and Sonics are definitely going to benefit, because not only are they everyone's more familiar with that style, but they're all such just powerhouse fragging teams. That I think, especially FaZe, who they've been struggling a little bit. I don't want to say they've had bad games though. They might have been on the level of TSM during the weekly survival, but they still looked pretty good, and especially because Uba is still pulling out the numbers, he is still fragging. So I think that they can lean on that. I think they're going to do well. But I'm also looking at, I feel like a broken record at this point, Damwon Kia. Whenever we're at the super settings, they look good. They got, it was 3rd place, but it was a really tight 3rd place last weekend, and we all remember the delivery that they had the first opening weekend. It's only the weekly survivals that they seem to struggle in, which it's going to get very frustrating if we do see them continue to perform well on the weekends. But unfortunately, if they never get to the weekly finals, they only stay in the bottom 16, that's not really going to do much for them. But I am still going to enjoy watching those guys play, because as Godspeed brought up, Indigo, Kale, Under, all those guys, they're nuts. They're just so fun. They're so good.
They're bananas. I mean, look, hey, so, okay, why we obviously get to talk about the lobby as much as we can. Everybody trying to get into that lobby right now so we can get these games started. So we only got a couple minutes more, guys. Hold on to your horses. But Godspeed, so far, we're now, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I guess, technically into the tournament. What has been your favorite play? I'm going to put you on the spot. What has been your favorite moment so far?
Honestly, I think, man, you are a very rude person.
I know I did it to you, didn't I? I told you I was gonna do it to you. I was gonna put you on the spot.
I'll tell you what.
Actually, I told you I wouldn't do that, but you know.
You did, but it's okay. One of the plays I actually really liked from Roth in one of the games that Zenith they ended up not winning. I think it was them. TSM, and I actually don't. Oh, man, the team that won that game, Roth made a really sick play to jump over this like little construction barricade to try to get Nox when his team had basically fallen. I think smokes were all around the circle, and he was able to get just like a really clean angle, and he wasn't close it in. But Roth has made some really incredible plays, as has Hwin. Hwin has made some really nice plays, especially with all the Leona circles we've been getting, and we've seen some really nasty stuff coming at him. Uba also had some pretty crazy spray transfers here or there, but for me, Uba has not been playing as well as I know he can be, especially because I played against him, and I think Uba is bonkers. I think that player is really ridiculous. But also, I want to say Kanaxi and Norins, both respectively for their teams, have made some outstanding, like world-class plays, especially Kanaxi in the end, which he barely helped his team qualify. So there's a lot of plays. Obviously, I'm looking at, Roth and Hwin as my North American guys, but also Uba is a player that I expect more from. And some of the Southeast Asia players are just bonkers as well.
Do you have one, Cam? I think Godspeed gave you enough time to think of something. You got anything?
I like the Rusty Zera Furia. So it wasn't exactly a 1v4 onto 4 AM.
Okay.
But he did get like all 4 kills. He put on onto a rock, and 4 AM all still in their vehicles. The play itself obviously was really good, but it was also good to see life in Furia. And they're in this lobby, so I'm going to take a quick moment to sort of wax lyrical on them.
Go for it.
They, I think, are a more solid team than I think they're delivering right now, because it's almost like they play musical chairs on who's going to pop off each day or each series. What opening weekend it was like all on Necro, and then the next weekend I think it was Raspu's ace on a 4 AM, but Rusty Zera has some good numbers too. The thing is that they just don't all click at the same time, which is the problem. Yeah. But it being this long of an event, and they have a little bit of time to sort of get their feet under them to start to gel, I am curious to see if it's going to happen, and excited if it does, if they are able to use this experience playing this top level play, because let's be honest, the competition in Latin America is not nearly the level of a bunch of the other regions, not to mention this international stage right now. So I'm really excited to see if they can't step up to the competition, get everyone unlocked at the same time. It's a similar problem that I've diagnosed Zenith with before previously, of or even Oath to a little bit, but not nearly as much, not in like a bad sense for Oath, where you need to have everyone showing up at the same time to be the best team you can be. You can't just pass the role of carry each game or each day to a different person.
Yeah, and that's a story of these long format tournaments, right, Godspeed? I mean, you've been there. You've been in the tournaments. You got to make sure that everybody's hitting at top cylinders all at the right time, and that's a really difficult thing to do. I think one of the things we were talking about before getting into game here today is Sonics, and the fact that going from such success in week 1 to now find themselves in this bottom 16 qualifier, could you see that as a good thing?
I'm really glad you brought that up, because I do see it as a good thing. Obviously, it's not the greatest situation that they find themselves off, but I feel like what they can take away, and I mean, we just saw the Sonics on camera as well. They were all kind of laughing, having a good time, and I don't think that's indicative of a team that doesn't care. I think that's indicative of a team that knows they're in a position that they didn't qualify for the weekly finals, but they have this opportunity to use this experience to improve and make sure that in the next weekly survival, once they're seeded properly, as long as they do well here, they'll be fine, and they'll be able to continue on their path of success.
Well, we are just about getting into game, so I want to make sure you guys get some last chances to pop off any final thoughts. Cameron, what's your last thought going into these games, going into game 1? I've
been positive on a number of different teams. I'm going to be negative right now. We've just seen what production thinks are the 3 teams to watch. I agree with Sonics. I agree with Damwon. Tiamba, I still have yet to be impressed by them. I know that they were a big name from the Chinese region coming into this, but even looking at scrims going into this and then the actual events themselves, I still don't see it. So this is the time to finally show up and show us why everyone was picking them as their favorites.
How about you, Godspeed, real quick?
Real quick, I'm looking at Petrichor Road, man. Those guys are animals, and I love watching them play. So let's see what they got.
Well, they've got Ike's left. They've got Mamu. Let's see if they can get some wins here. But I think we are just about ready to get into match number 1. I want to make sure that you guys know that we are sponsored by Intel, Zowie, Perrier, and Tubi. We thank them very much for allowing us to bring you these games. But we are ready to head into match number 1 with your casters, Martin Avenger Goat and Richard the Sims. Boys, take it away.
Thank you very much, Poro. Yes, good morning and welcome everybody to the PUBG Global Invitational.S 2021 bottom reseeding. The bottom 16 for week number 2 as we roll into week number 3. Once again, we have 10 teams that have followed us from week number 1. Unfortunately, they find themselves seating here for a second time round, a second crack at the whip, while 6 teams do join them. 6 probably unorthodox teams, Martin, because I have to be honest, when I look at some of the teams that have joined us in this lobby, Na'Vi, Sonics, TSM, FaZe, these are big household names, Martin, I did not anticipate seeing here in week number 2.
No, but on the other hand, there's a kind of upside to this as well. Like, we're coming into this, it's the second week. You want to have your bad weeks in the beginning of the tournament and not in this, in the beginning of the tournament and not in the end where the prize pool that grows. So, I think these guys are going to learn from it. They're like, it's not like you can guarantee yourself just by being here and it sucks and everything, but it's going to be a learning experience. They're going to get some good practice, if you may, because there's no money on the line on this one.
Yeah, that's something that I want to drive home and really reiterate to the audience that's watching at home. And while this is, and look, everyone, oh, please hit it. Please, Wookie. If you're a man who can, and I trust in you very much to be able to make all my dreams come true and hit a vehicle with a Winchester. Come on. Tag him. Come on, tag him. No, that's just asking for too much, Martin, so early on. But yeah, like, just to kind of really drive it home here, it's one of those, it is a very brutal, it is a very challenging tournament. The format is certainly something different than we're not used to seeing in PUBG, but the fight back mechanic that allows for teams, even if they have not even placed in any final survival, once we get to it for week 4, week 5, we get to that final week and first place, you know, for in fact, weeks 5 and 6, you're looking at $250,000 one week, $500,000 the next. There is still this final fight back mechanic that even if you unfortunately fail early, towards the end game, provided you can get into those final matches, provided you can work your way up to the upper echelons towards the end of the tournament, you can still win this thing. And I think that's the most glorious thing about this competition.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's fantastic with the comeback mechanic, and not if you're like, even if you may not win it by winning the 4th or 5th week, you're gonna set yourself up for a really good share of that prize pool, and that's obviously what these guys are playing for. And right now we're in a record-breaking mood with the crowdfunding and everything, and what we were looking at was, I think it was 4.75 what we've had so far, and there's still more to come as well. So I think we might even go into the 5 million, and it's already making it the biggest first-person shooter tournament ever to be happening in esports, which is really, really impressive, and just talks to the huge amount of support that's coming out from the fans and the players and the player base in general.
Yeah, I mean, closing on 5 million is pretty, it's pretty extravaganza, especially when we're looking at how long PUBG's still been around for. And someone could say, well, it's only been a few years, but there's a few games that don't make it out the first couple of years of life, and see this still going strong. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be watching some of these teams. We'll dive into some of the teams now, Martin, as the rotations come through. We'll kind of touch on it. It would be unfair to not speak about some of the newer teams towards this bottom 16, K7, Furia, Na'Vi, Sonics, TSM, and FaZe. TSM, FaZe, Na'Vi, let's kind of start with the European factor. We had a full North American desk, okay, so we can open it up with the 2 Europeans for now. TSM, Martin, seeing as they're on screen, talk to me about some challenges that you may have seen going through last week. There were a couple of ups, there were a couple of downs, but again, it's one of those factors where sometimes a win does mean everything during the weekly survival, and being able to get through, it can be rather heartbreaking.
Yeah, I think the most heartbreaking one was also the one they touched about on the desk as well, was the 4 versus 2. I actually had the pleasure of talking to Wookie Boogie about it, and he was disappointed. Like, they should have won that for sure. And obviously, like, when you have that consistent games going on during the week. It obviously sucks a lot. They're extremely close to closing one of them out, and pretty close to closing a few of the other ones out. T1 though, they are committing to this one. Dang J, Starlord, and Aqua 5 is already coming in here, and I think Aqua 5 actually hit the silence on that one now. They definitely know that there. Oh, good shots coming out. 35 HP left. More shots coming out of Vard as well from Dang J.
Yeah, Dangche is really the snake in the grass because I don't believe they had the full information of his location at the start when they initially pulled up. With the vehicles pulling on the back, they do get the audible cue that the rest of the team has survived. Vard will pick up the information on Dangche's position. It looks like TSM's just decided, you know what, rather than waste any time here, rather than waste any early lives, let's turn away from this one and go elsewhere and find a tree. Okay, it is what it is. We'll carry on. Shots in the distance still. Tiggleton, Mime down low as well. That compound's completely taken, but you can see in the distance just how hard this rotation is going to be with teams also moving at the same time. The bike has gone. The smokes will be down. Vard is just a breath away from being knocked, and we'd have to assume that it is indeed Sonic's Quinn and Tiggleton tagging up the very first point of this match. First victim falls, and away we go. We have opened up. We have begun. Now, for someone like TSM turning away from that fight, I suppose it has to be said, Martin, for you know, we're back into the normal Super Esports setting, Super Esports rules, if you will, quote unquote. But there's also in the back of your mind a time to be able to maybe refine, not necessarily practice, but refine getting the win, refine the survivability, maybe just double take on scenarios that normally when you would play super hyper aggressive, you can say, okay, well, maybe it's not the time to play aggressive. Maybe it's the time to dip away from this one and go for an alternate route, which is just basically survive.
Yeah, and also coming into this compound, rarely played this compound is. It's in a crater. Mime is actually going to dip out of it. It's first circle. It's not a compound worth fighting for right now. Or is he dipping out, or is he just... No, he's just repositioning. Okay, I like that. So he's gonna stick out for this one and play for it some time, or is he's gonna leave? Okay. So he's getting out of there, disengaging from this fight. I think it's a fair shout for him. Phase one not worth losing, and also considering how important it is keeping as many guys alive towards the end as well. So good decision making here by Sonics. They're gonna keep a pretty good compound as well. We've seen a fair share of endings up around this area as well. First circle, and looking at this here, Richard, I'm just looking at it, I'm thinking, we've had a good amount of endings in Los Leones. Is this going to be another one or what?
Yeah, I mean, well, look, you're the analyst, man. You're the expert on this kind of things. Let's just, we can be really quick about this one as well. Just for the audience at home that's watching, and necessarily, we've seen a lot of discussion on Twitter. We've seen a lot of discussion just going on in the distance. We know we've had some minor adjustments. Explain to me in a very short, brief statement, like, why are we getting alternate circles compared to what we've been seeing throughout the rest of 2020?
So super short is that we've seen a few changes to the timings of the circles. Some circles move slightly faster, some circles move slightly quicker, which is not the big impact. The big impact is that the first circle has its shrink settings. The size of it changed from 0.4, which it was before, to 0.35, which basically changes the size of the first circle by approximately 500 meters in diameter. This obviously makes the first circle slightly smaller. That's not the biggest change. The biggest change is that impacts the circles after it, because the shrinks after that has not been changed and not been altered. So circle 3 is smaller and circle 4 is smaller, and circle 4 is where we see the land ratio go into effect, and the land ratio affects on both maps as well. So having that circle be 125 meters approximately smaller in diameter makes it fit into areas that it did not fit into before. For example, Los Leones, the 125 meters just perfectly fits into like the circle on top of Los Leones, which shifts away from other tendencies. So it's basically the changes in the sizes that like enables these new circles here.
Yeah, I know a few people have been a little bit confused by it, and that's totally fine. It was getting to a point where we were not necessarily been able to predict, but have a good guesstimation of where things were going to be going. Satu picks up a frag on the way by. Detonation Gaming lose one, rather unfortunate. With a bit of a slower approach, maybe some more. Devan's taking a look at what's further ahead rather than just pulling into that one, but here we are. Unfortunately, does die. JN still looking out in the distance from Divine Gaming, hoping no one else is looking at the distance. Necro, that's a nice banger of a shot straight into the brain of Star-Lord in the kill feed with the Kar98.
Yeah.
Star-Lord, an old school bolter who probably has more recently moved away from it. And I'd personally still like to see him go back to the bolt action. I think it's one of those where if you find a member of your team who specializes in something, it'd be so good. I mean, the bolt actions can be very impactful. Yes, I understand with the DMRs how forgiving they are. You can just constantly spam fire that. But I do find bolt action, there is a time and a place for them, and there are opportunities for certain players to be able to just get those knocks at distance, be able to get you those entry frags that you need to make moves on it. And Star-Lord was one of those shining players. I believe it was at the first SIC Global Summit. Don't correct me if I'm wrong on that one, where he was on Miramar and he was just completely banging everybody dead to rights with the M24. And, you know, it kind of spread from there and his name really started to get out there. But seeing him go into a DMR, it's a little bit disappointing. I still think if you know that a player is individually skilled with those guns, breed it, push it out of him, let him, you know, let him loose with that thing and do their job.
Oh.
Boy, who does he have to? I'm wondering if he has to commit to this. It looks like K7 certainly are doing. With the rest of them pulling up, Martin, the call's been made. We have to push this building, but not in that way. Diving inside a window where you know people are lurking. That ain't good for your health.
No, and Senyan is also going to be pulling up in this one. He's going to be having 35 HP with this one. Lockslog also committing, and TSM is already wrapped up nicely. Okay, they're going to be using the gasoline with this one as well to use this one. Nice shots coming out from Lockslog, connecting a few onto Boogie Boogie. Also going to be committing some utility to it. And they're now in a 3 versus 3 with TSM in a compound here in Circle 2. It's a pretty, for this circle, actually a pretty good compound. It's most likely going to end in approximately this area here, or they're going to be able to play it late game from this area. The reason why this compound usually is not sought after that much is because it's in a crater. It's down in a kind of canyon valley, and you have basically surrounding areas where you can have so many teams just, you know, peppering down shots on you, take out your vehicles, and just get you out of there. You cannot play on foot from there, usually late game.
I think it's kind of back up and enforce what you mentioned, though. It's always one of those where you look towards the area between Picado and La Bendita. We have like a very good hotspot, so to speak, that kind of runs down from Graveyard all the way down through this small area, down to the dirt road, and it is a good spot, so I understand why people can be committed to it. You could say, okay, well, why are you down in the ditch when teams can just sit on the edges and kind of look into it? Well, it holds a lot of ground. Whether or not TSM can hold a lot of ground is a different question altogether. A hop, skip, and a jump, 2 versus 1. They get the knock onto Iron. Miraku comes through onto Savior for the follow-up as well. You'd have to anticipate the flush. We are in esports settings. Wookie Bucky is lurking. They don't realize he's here. He has shot a little bit early, which is a little bit unfortunate. Had he bit his trigger for all but a moment, they wouldn't have realized he was here, and that's just shrouded by the noise of smoke. It's starting to get a bit messy, but for both teams, it's a vital fight to win in order to try and survive. Xenan will fall. Second one comes downstairs, and instantly he's just flooding into the open. Warm embrace of Wookie Bucky, and TSM do win out the fight.
And this is obviously just points on the board for them at this point. They are really happy about these points because you want to put up a good amount of average points per game to make sure you have a good placement for this one. Of course, before we were talking about there's no prize money in this. It's the bottom 16. You're playing for reseeding in these games. So put your name further on the waiting list, get yourself ahead of everyone else, and get more games once we get into the weekly survival again. Reposition circle actually goes towards TSM here. They're going to be in a good position. They might be crashed again. Is this LG Divine pulling up on them again? Are they going to have to defend this compound once again?
I mean, this is the good thing about it. If you are set up and ready to receive these fights, you can defend it. But unfortunately, with the two-man band and also being on the back side of the building, it makes it that much more difficult. So LG Divine will be allowed to get to this compound, and most importantly for them, it will be in full force. June has been damaged, but can Sonics be the savior that TSM need? Do a bit of a favor. The odd knock here and there. Tiggleton playing the 2-2 split here on the hillside. Shotgun in hand from TSM, and kind of tells you the whole statement of this competition, how it's been and how it's going to go. To be fair, we've seen more shotguns this competition, Martin, than what we saw for the whole of 2020.
Yeah, and actually, for another thing, I actually talked to Woogie Boogie about was also that it's actually just nades coming in. Woogie's knocked. Miracle is going to be the last one for this one. Oh, he's going to be flushed as well. That position and that kind of angle was a good one. Miracle with a shotgun on Turtle. He's going to finish him as well. Another point on the board for TSM. And now he's going to try to defend this one here. And they're saying, you know, shotguns, they're extremely powerful, and we don't need to, in the weekly series, or weekly survival, we don't need to confirm kills. We don't need to flush the kills. We need to get a better positioning and better placement. And I think the shotguns are better for that, they said. So super interesting here. 5 points on the board. 3 of the kills for Miracle so far. And they prefer the pump action shotgun the most, actually. John is going to get picked up by Levi's. And we'll see if more pressure comes out for this one here. So
I understand it with the double barrel. I mean, you've only got 2, and then you kind of it's job done from that. With the pump action, you're going to be able to at least get more off. But I kind of still think in my mind with a shotgun, if you don't hit the target first time, you're dead regardless anyway. So having more time to be able to chamber that thing in a way, you know, kind of rock and roll with it, you get that one opportunity to hit them, and you know, if all 9 pellets hit, they're going to be dropping at the end of the day. So I kind of understand it. Is that defensive stance weapon and that last kind of stand scenario, which Miracle at the moment is kind of holding on. Yes, it's backed up by Sonics on the hillside, giving him some support. Speaking of hillsides, Ike's left, straight down, sparking in the distance as well onto his teammates. We'll see one go down from Petrichor Road, unfortunately. Dead Nation Gaming white still out on the outskirts, trying to find themselves a place to call home, but everything's so populated at the moment. It's going to be a very difficult run regardless of which way we look at it. The circle did shift and update to where we kind of anticipated it. Will LG Divine and TSM still be lucky? They absolutely will. It's smack bang in the middle. Now, the question is, Martin, with how many teams are in the South, good Lord, this is going to be an absolute bloodbath trying to make any kind of landfall. And I'd anticipate that these 2 teams on your screen maybe get a little bit more, a few more neighbors, so to speak.
Yeah, I think at this point they're committing to this compound here. If you, like in a Hail Mary commitment, and I'm not talking about like, you know, if you're already in a decent spot where you can play into the circle, it would be worth it. But Damwon Kia, they're going to be trying to play some of these dips, and also a few more dips available. But the compound is pretty damn good right now. It probably won't give you a win, but it'll give you a lot more points if you're in, you know, out of or north of Los Jones right now. Shots coming in from Matron.
You said Hail Mary, Martin, and I think you've summoned the DA. This is generally the play, isn't it? You say Hail Mary, and DA's like, well, you know what, boys? The call has been made. Let's just full-blown send it in. Here we go. 1, 2, 3 members. Where the 4th? Well, Code Marco's run himself over, so there we go. That's rather unfortunate. With the shotgun, there's the first one. Second one, hiding in the smoke. He will be able to get the info in just a second. The instant flush is there as well, so good job for Miracle to be able to hold the stairwell. Smash on the back's got problems of himself, and this is the only problem. If you're not being held by TSM, you've been held by LG Divine, you've been held by Sonics, it becomes very, very difficult given how many teams are going to be lurking just up this hillside. And yeah, if you're going for this compound, you're committing to the long game, because this is where you're ultimately going to die.
For sure. And Miracle is going to continue with this kind of putting points on the board for them, because, you know, I think that's one of the stories from them last week was, or this week during the weekdays, was that they were just able to put points on the board, but they just didn't count, you know. It's just a win or get out. More shots coming in, more connections. Aqua 5 is going to flush out NBK from Division 8 Gaming. And T1 is in a really good compound here. They can play out of this quite nicely. Fergus is going to take down Gray from Petrichor Road. Long and Axe left is going to commit to this one. Shots coming out as well, connecting more. This is a rough area to fight as well. They could be third-parted easily.
Yeah, that's the thing. T1's starting to chomp at the bit and really want to get involved in this the best they can. Keeping their distance because they know it is an open field between them and the enemy, so you don't just want to go running to it. You want to let them come to you or just take up any avenues, small windows that you get, take full advantage of that, get the knock, do what you can, but there's no real point in running at them when you hold that compound. Starlord is lurking, and kind of talking about it early on, I don't want to push too much on it, but it is times like these I just wish that He had that M24. He had that Kar 98. He'll just be able to ping those heads at a fair amount of distance. However, if he does get the knock, one player down will become completely unrevivable. Na'Vi have had a bit of a rough time. We've not seen them really on camera, but it only appears to be Kemba, the last one standing. Tiamba, down in the south, will come for the big old eastern rotate. They're going to swing it straight all the way around. And again, with this circle, unfortunately, it's hell in a cell. You've just got to send it to the middle, find anything you can, anything, small margin of land that you can call your own, and away you go. First one will fall. Lin Shun stolen away, actually, funnily enough, by Necro again with that Kar 98. That's the third or fourth knock that I've seen coming out of him so far. Always on target, IQ 500. T1 have, for some unknown reason, decided to push into DXG, and it's just gone completely catastrophically absolutely wrong in every single way, shape, and form. It's a 1 versus 1 by the looks of it. Aqua 5 into the flush will be forced to ultimately hit the res with no health whatsoever. I have no idea what happened there, but my God, has this gone bad for T1?
Yeah, they tried to pull up on the northeastern side and try to get into position from here. The compound obviously wasn't in. They knew that there was a team west of them, and they didn't want to go into suicide push like where E36 looks to be going right now. No, they actually avoided Damonkia. They're going in Tiamba. Oh, they're going to be pulling up this. Oh my God, Pure Boy's going to take down one with a drive-by. Another one actually as well. That's insane. What an insane pull-up from E36. Wow. Can you... Oh my God, Tiggleton is going to take down Phosphase, and now we're going to see a fight from Sonics and FaZe.
Itzy will be holding down on the right-hand side, so he needs to just buy his time for now. With an aid going up in the air, they have to be really careful here. All the utility is being committed. There is a response onto Shrimsy. If Itzy gets this low ground, he'll be laughing. But the problem is they do have a player down low as well. Mime's there to try and trade that off and keep him at bay. He has been spotted, and he is pushed back. The chase will come through, and the second knock is in. FaZe down, confirmed. 2 versus 2 will go forward. FaZe still holding. But all of a sudden, Lat AM has turned up for the fight. They want to get involved in this one themselves. So far, we've seen plenty of knocks coming out of Furia. Up and over we go. Uber spots War, moved on to the second. Transfer there. GG, 2 down. Where's the third? He'll be straight back off the res. Remember, he was already down earlier on, so Tiggleton is running for his life, but death from behind strikes. We said Furia will turn up at the right time. It is a 2 still standing on the side of Sonics. Excuse me. I thought they only had 1, so Mime did also get back on his feet here. Tiggleton playing the medic. Is it actually going to be just Uber on his own for FaZe? It is. So, unfortunately, Furia's position just at the wrong time turning up to this fight has cost FaZe Clan dearly. I think ultimately there's not a great deal he can do here. He'll hide underneath the body box for now and try and fight back, but unfortunately, Necro puts the nail in the coffin. Kar 98 comes back. Where's the face? Where's the target? Can you find it? Probably not. With nades raining down onto E36 as well, this could spell disaster. They do fan out, which at least keeps them alive, but Metagaming Martin is pushing.
Yeah, and this is just to defend this kind of northern push from E36. Oh, no! Oof, that was close. Just pushed them out a little bit for him. Pure Boy still alive. Silson is going to get some shots here. Wicked is going to finish it off. And even though E36 has 5 kills, this looks to be the end of them here. More utilities being committed, and this is going to be a super rough push for them. And they were just trying to avoid this. They just wanted to avoid this completely. Damonkia pulls up. LD Divine gets a few kills. Sang Yang is down. Kale is knocked as well. And now the commitments come as well. Miracle with a shotgun kill. Another one. That's 5. Can he find another?
Oh, I just anticipating the wall bang to smash him through the door and take it out. Tiggleton, kill feed. Rusty Zera down and out, unfortunately. We'll pick up a point for Sonics. Still holding on the side. Jane knows exactly where Smash is. Might just caught the window peak for all but a second on the lean. Tiggleton, is it time to strike? You know you've knocked one down here. He's probably looking for information from Mime to try and get an angle and see what's up. But if they have the utility, remember, Fury was quite stationary for some time. So they haven't committed everything, much like SQ did when they were going up against FaZe Clan. They had to throw everything at the wall to make something happen. Sprays there. No target found. Up close and personal. Mime is sending it. Tag on the leg. We'll have no idea whatsoever, but you know what? Damage is damage, and you're going to force them to the left. That's exactly what he's doing. He's preparing for it. But Necro's also there to receive, so good positioning here from
Yeah,
Furia
nice
to
smokes
receive
coming
this one.
Nice smokes coming out as well. They're basically blocking them. That means that Fury could grab a little bit on them. I like that. E36 is going to be taken down, and metagame with 7 kills so far. They're looking very good for this one here. They've taken the north side of the circle. Sonics and Fury are still fighting for this one. Meanwhile, we have a three-way fight, a four-way fight, if I may, I think. Yeah, TSM, DA, Damwon Kia, and LG Divine into the compound. That's fantastic. I love that. We'll see the next circle really determined for this one here. If it stays on the top and the compound has to leave, or if it keeps the compound in, I mean, the placement points are getting really heavy now. We've got 7 teams left. Once it starts getting into the top 6 and top 5s, it starts really rolling downhill and getting a few more points for that. Indigo, last player for Damwon Kia, sitting on the roof. Really good position for him, actually, for this one. And 10 more seconds until the circle pops.
I mean, a solo player alone can do wonders for the team. You've already seen what TSM have managed to fortify with Miraku's position. Meta will be in. Smash at the back is laughing. Now, for Meta, let's just kind of take stock, Martin. They've been sweeping that entire northern side, but they did move forward. They did move as close to the center as what they could possibly get without coming and expose himself off the hill, so it has paid off. Kildemo straight onto Tiggleton, finds his skull and puts him down. Mime, last man standing. The spray's there, but unfortunately, the 3-man push is just too much. Sonics go down. Levi's out the window, up the hill. Furia's position has been noted, and they have to make some work. For Furia, I think it's just a matter of time and ultimately just wait for death. But I didn't realize this, man. They actually saved vehicles on the backside, so they'll have to take a run onto this. Smirt finally finds Miraku. The shotgun, it was a valiant attempt. 7th place with plenty of frags in the bag. He's done more than enough.
Yeah, he got a lot out of this one here. Unfortunately, lost a few players throughout the game. One to an unfortunate flip with a bike. Another one on the pull up the compound. But metagaming is looking really good for this one here, Rich. They're in a decent position. I mean, they have, you know, one more circle. If it shifts away from them, everybody still has to move. Wicked is getting another one. And I think Furia is going to be having a really rough time getting into this one unless they, pull up in the compound or do an insane pull-up on meta, but I don't see that happening.
Kind of liked how it was done. Send one vehicle down, let the 2 players up top lay down, cover fire, then send the other 2 in afterwards once the knock comes in. So they've managed to at least get themselves into a position I did not anticipate. Oh my word. Indigo. That is a 2-for-1 straight onto DA, and it eliminates them from this round, puts them into the top 4. Holding on for dear life, but as you say at the moment, it's all eyes on the prize when it comes to metagaming, with 4 players standing. And probably the most amount of room compared to anybody else. They do have time to be able to just fan out and get themselves into a much better position to receive LG Divine once they have to leave the safety of the building.
Yeah, for sure. And that was a 3-point nade right there. Unfortunately, it didn't last long, but it's a really good valiant effort for this one. A rough late pull-up for them. They're playing on the east side. It had to shift towards them if they wanted to get something good out of that position that Damwon Kia was playing. So I respect the pull-up. They lost too many players way too quickly once they get onto the compound. Wicked is going to find Kill Demo, and Furia is probably going to be down to 1 player at this point. So Circle actually kept this compound in, and LG Divine can play cover. Meta has to move towards the next ridge, and it's going to be kind of rough for them for this one here. They're going to have to commit a lot of smokes, and I'm not sure how much smokes they've got across. So 9 kills so far for them, and looking super good in that regard.
Yeah,
but they're going to have to do another thing completely. They're going to have to try to smoke LG Divine rather than trying to smoke a path for themselves, so they can push all the way up to them. And this is something players often kind of forget or fail to do, is that you need to smoke your enemy often more than you need to smoke a path for yourself.
That hard shift is absolutely brutal. It keeps the buildings in which LD Divine are just completely bunkered down into. And you have to remember the fights that were happening, I believe it was against E36. Meta just committed all of its utility to be able to take that position, get the frags that they needed, and move forward. So they're going to be slowly but surely running out of smokes, running out of utility, running out of a lifeline. That's the real problem here. LG Divine now just have to strangle them for air and just let them basically come to them up against the blue. It's the blue which will force this engagement. And given the very lack of hard cover that will be there. I think this is just LG Divine looking pretty damn strong. If Sparking, though, can make some magic happen, we know there's something special in this young lad, like especially what he's been doing in his respective region.
He has definitely been pulling up and been pretty impressive. We've seen him in a few actions here and there. Very impressive on the military game, especially. And for this one, to start with this one, but I think you're right here. LG Divine has so much more utility, so much more smokes. From what I've saw from Metagaming, they have 1 or 2 smokes across the 3 players, so they're gonna have an extremely hard time getting into this one. I mean, LG Divine is already pushing and playing this really strong rock that is towards the center and closer, so they're just gonna have the blues in their back. And I'm actually curious if they're gonna be able to get as many kills out of this as possible, or what Metagame is going to be doing. Are they committing to this one? Yeah, it looks like they are. They're going to try to go for it.
Yeah, the push out is phenomenal. They built the smoke wall. They've moved it around to more the middle, a more stable position of the map to be able to just kind of surround Metagame and allow Metagaming to move forward with no safety whatsoever. And now they're going to be lined up and pinned in. JN to one side. Wicked will fall. Sills and Sparking. 2 versus 3. Do we have anything left in the tank? Is this even possible? With so little cover, we'd anticipate not, but we shall see. And at the moment, it's just JN holding front and center. And after the one more player, it should be the GG for LG. Job done. The circle is extremely cruel towards the side of Metagaming. But I tell you what, a nice reactive play from LG at the end to be able to put the smokes down, to be able to move to that rock and surround Metagaming and deny any land movement whatsoever. Ultimately, wins them out the game and picks up a fair amount of points.
Yeah, great game for them here. They pushed into the compound at a good time, and also you saw them not committing to the fight to try to clear out the compound, because they knew that there are going to be more teams committing to it. There are going to be more teams coming in, so they just wanted to have as many players alive towards the late game, and that actually benefited them really well there. So super well played by LG Divine, a team that's here for a second time in our bottom 16 matches, and they need to get as many games out of the weekly survival as possible, and they're off to a really good start here for our BO8 of the reseeding games that we're playing today and tomorrow.
They do, and I suppose for LG Divine, it's it needs to be a bit of a shining light compared to what they had in the performance last week. Because let's not beat around the bush here, man. They did get into the weekly finals, but they only had 1 game to play. They finished 31st overall, with DA unfortunately being the team that seeded 32nd below them and did not get to compete through the weekly finals whatsoever. Again, there's 2 sides to these reseeding games. Yes, there is no money necessarily on the line, but you are playing for that top spot. You are playing for more chances to be able to compete for money once you move to that weekly finals. The main spot of all this, and the main talking point, it's avoiding 32nd at all costs. Otherwise, you're just out of the running for next week, and it's job done for that. Reset, go again. For now, that's enough from myself and Martin. I'm going to pass it back to North American squad over on the desk. Gentlemen, what do you think about that absolute carnage down in the little ditch?
Sit back, my European friends, and let me tell you the tale of the bloodiest little compound in the West. LG Divine come out on top after Shotgun Rider Miracle finally goes down. That was probably one of the craziest whole. I can't believe Miracle stayed alive that long, man. Like this is my new favorite part of the meta going out of PGI.S is the shotguns and the compounds here.
I mean, there's something to be said about being able to just instantly take out an opponent, especially at close range. I mean, the shotgun it's always been there. It's always been a tool, available. It's just it was never really utilized. It's also, over time it's been buffed. But yeah, shotgun is super devastating up close. We saw Mirko use that to sensational effect.
Cammy, LG Divine managed to make the crash into the compound in that north spot, managed to keep 3 up, which is something that every 6-7 other teams didn't manage to do, and still somehow managed to take that game away from Meta. Was that a LG Divine win, or was that a Meta throw?
It was. I don't think it was a full-on throw by Meta. We did the three of us did agree that that final shift, it was between the two of them. Meta had the advantage of the terrain, but they don't have a lot of terrain to work with on that final flat area. LG Divine had the cover to just chill in for the whole game, but once they left, they didn't have much themselves. I just wish I saw Meta do a little bit more, because Divine were able to just sort of easily walk out, get positioned towards the center of the circle. All the utility deployed by both sides. Doesn't really matter where you are. If one team has the circle ending right on them, they can just hold a line of scrimmage, wait for you to push into them that you're going to inevitably have to do, and get those kills. It was a very good 9 kills for Meta leading up to that point, however, so I don't think they should be too terribly upset with their game. It's just shocking. Sounds bad, but it is really interesting to see that the top 2 teams from the very first game are 2 teams that have been struggling so much this entire event so far.
2 LATAM teams in the Final Four there, Godspeed. Furia was looking pretty good in that fight against, well, I guess a third-party fight, really, against FaZe and Sonics there.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this before as well. The South American teams have always been just really good at scrapping. You know, they're very good at third-partying, getting involved,
Yes.
being quite a nuisance. And I gotta say, Furia looked really good there. The only issue for them, unfortunately, was the fact that once they wiped out FaZe and Sonics as they were fighting on the side of that hill going into the crater, there was pretty much nowhere else to play. I mean, even with vehicles, we saw them kind of move into one of the rocks in the center there of the circle, but there's just not enough cover, and especially with how many, nades and utility that these teams are carrying that way, I mean, there was just nowhere to go. And then on the case of Meta, I mean, I just think for them, it was really just being not proactive enough. They had arguably the better position. They could move up and hold, and I mean, they just weren't able to keep Divine in the compound. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I think they had the right idea. They sent Ragnar out early to try to get a different position, but once he went down, they just found themselves kind of pinned up against the back wall there on the north side.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is, but you know what? At the end of the day, Meta still gets a boatload of kills and that second place, which now that we're playing for Super, we're playing
Which
for
matters.
position. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. That's what matters. We don't care about the wins right now, do we, Cam?
Yep.
No, not at all. And so even though you don't win the game when you're Meta with 9, Furia 3rd place with 6, and then TSM in 6th place with 7 kills, those are all really, really solid runs. Even DA and Demon Kia, who got 5th and then 4th respectively, only had 2 kills. I don't necessarily dislike the plays that they made in this game to get to that position, especially Demon Kia. DA was, okay, it's a risk to make that bomb as late as they did. They weren't the first team to try and make that drive towards that center compound, but at the time that DA did it, there honestly wasn't much to play, because at that point in the game, it was going to be that crater ending, which meant that if you weren't already on the edge, like what Division X were, Sonics were already sort of holding court and trying to hold the line and gatekeep players out, that was really the only other place to go. So I don't dislike that decision. I do wish one of them didn't knock themselves. I don't remember which one it was. I think it was between.
I think Code Marco got knocked.
Code Marco.
He was the one in the Bronco that got that lost the tire to Sonic. So I think he
clean it up.
Yeah. It is what it is. Well, speaking of cleaning things up, Godspeed, I know we've got our buddy Paperthin in the quote unquote green room with us watching these games, and we were talking a little bit about T1. Now T1 came around that north side, almost got 1v4 by IQ 500. Is that a symptom of, or kind of like what we're expecting from T1 right now, or is that just like an anomaly and we're expecting them to kind of repair themselves here?
Boy, I certainly hope not. And in talking to Paperthin as well, I mean, there's the talent on that team between Adder and Starlord, Aqua 5 and Dengsha. You have so many. You have. Man, you just have such a good roster. Yeah, you have an incredible roster, but they are so disjointed. They are really not working together. I mean, we've seen it in not only that game, but in games before. They're not working together as a team. As we see a team like, for instance, Sonic's working out, even in their successes and failures, they're always pushing the pace together generally. And there's been a lot of other teams that have been doing that as well. But yeah, I don't know. T1 is a team that I was super excited to watch coming into this. I was hoping that they would be able to pull it together very early, especially with that roster, but it's just not looking good. They need to pull out of it.
Cameron, we're about to get into game number 2, going back over to Miramar. We've got 3 teams right now sitting in last place with 0 points. Detonation Gaming White, Navi, and Tiamba. Who is the most likely to make a jump out of those three, do you think, in game number 2?
It's gotta be, honestly, Detonation Gaming White. Before this event started, I would have been shocked if anyone gave that answer. But so far, over the course of this entire tournament, they have actually been the team that has looked more consistent. I have more confidence in over either Navi or Tiamba, which is insane to say, but it's true. It's true.
It's absolutely nuts, man. Well, we are getting into game number 2. We are going to throw you back over to our luscious European Sleepy Boy casters, Mr. Avenger and Mr. The Sims. Take us into game number 2, boys.
Sleepy Boys united indeed, but you know what? We've got Coffee Poro and everything will be fine. Caffeine fixes everything. But the question is, can caffeine fix T1? Because as it was discussed, and I want to kind of expand on that a little bit more on the desk, T1, I totally agree, Martin. When you look at this on paper, when you look at the amount of skill, the amount of talent that's on that roster, and also T1 as an organization being such a big brand, such been a household name within many other games, it's just, it kind of goes hand in hand with Down One Gear, to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie, it just doesn't seem to be delivering.
No, I mean they need to finish up higher. I think on paper, if they get 10, 12 matches to play in the weekly survival, they'll be doing well. They did get a third and a second place with 7 and 8 kills in their 3 games that they played. The last one was the 16th. Let's not talk about that one, but the 2 other ones was super respectable. So I feel like they're hungry enough, but they just need to get a better placement in the bottom 60 matches to have 10, 12 games. I feel like is the kind of a good amount for them to be able to guarantee themselves a spot, because they're definitely going to be doing well here. I don't want to judge them by especially playing out of that compound. We just saw them here and that misplay. They should have done something earlier, to be honest. I think the kind of Hail Mary play where it's do or die situation where you need to push on a northern shift where you don't even have time to fight, where you commit in multiple vehicles. I don't think that's the play. You want to play ahead. You want to already have a plan no matter what next circle comes ahead of you, and you maybe already want to start playing in a situation where that situation was inevitable. Like, that circle was never going to end on their compound. They're going to have to play out of there sometime. So another team that is on screen right now is FaZe Clan. And, the boys on desk, they're harking on us a little bit that we have a lot of EU teams here. For sure. That's great. We're probably going to see a lot of EU teams do well as well. There's a bigger chances now that we have more teams here. So they're going to be hopefully be pulling themselves ahead. But we had a few of the teams that actually had some rough times, and FaZe Clan was one of them here during the Weekly Survival series.
I love that cop out, Martin. By percentages we have more teams, so we should do better. Hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully, smile.
Hopefully, smiley face, wink, wink. Yeah. Well, I mean, it is one of those things, and I think it's going to be a lot of adaptations for teams, given the fact that it is 2 different play styles through the week. There is a lot of money on the line. There's a lot of pressure for these guys. It is life-changing amounts of money, so I understand it. It's a long time away from home as well, like a 2-month-long competition. They've had the quarantine before. The world has been in chaos for 2020, so there's a lot of differences, and it's going back to LAN as well. While I know it's a hybrid-esque LAN event in competition, I totally understand that and appreciate it, but there is a lot riding on this, and there is a lot of pressures and stuff that go around it. The mental aspects of this game, especially with the up and downs, when you're so close. I mean, VP, hell, like, honestly, with how close how many second places they keep getting, I kind of feel bad for them at times. I mean, don't get me wrong, they finally made it through, which was fair play, but certainly it can be extremely stressful. So I'm totally and utterly open with that one, but still, there's the one thing that needs to be said about this whole entire thing is that it's never over. Until we get to that final week 5, week 6, it's never going to be over. You're never going to be out of the chance of, even if you're out getting kind of to the point where it's okay, we can't win this one. As long as you can pick up as much money as you can and be taking home a nice chunk after 2 months' work, then fair play. But for now, from a spectator's POV, for us, we get to cast it, people get to watch it. There's a lot of PUBG for the next few weeks, and that's that's never a bad thing.
No, it's absolutely fantastic. We love a good chunk of PUBG, and also I love this circle. we have a northern circle that the center is north of water treatment, which is not a new circle, but it's a rare circle. And I love this area, especially, like water treatment and northeast toward Crystal Val and Tora Hamura as well, and the kind of area that you can play around, because there's so much playable space, so much playable terrain that is, and it opens up a lot of interesting circles and interesting plays as well. And kind of cuts out the RNG. Unless we have the classic southwest of water treatment ending, then all the other endings around it is super, super interesting and super fun to watch and commentate. So I'm looking forward to getting into this one deeper.
And what's kind of interesting to me is the last time me and you played ranked, we actually dropped in the same place FaZe did around those oil cylinders, and we ended up winning that game. So let's kind of see if there's some EU vibes going there, man. We can kind of channel the positivity towards our EU brethren and give them the plus vibes that they need for this very early morning. If you are wondering why we are blabbing on it, it is 2 and 3 a.m. in the morning over here. So we are just getting us coffee down as next. We are just getting going. We are just working up. We've got 2 games of Erangel after this one. This is our second game if you are tuning in just now. This, of course, is the bottom 16 reseeding. Teams are playing through 17th all the way down through 31st. I don't say 32nd because if you're playing there, you will not be playing next weekend. We've already had 2 teams that have fortified that position. First week, it was Multi-Circle Gaming. Last week, it was Digital Athletics. Now, teams looking to avoid that. LG Divine, I mean, they're only 10 points off already after 1 game what they were after 8 games last week, which is certainly a massive improvement. Things can still go wrong, so, I won't jinx it completely, but looking to at least try and avoid that. We do have 3 teams, 0 points whatsoever, all the way down at the bottom. One of them being, is Kaylee going to go for this, or do I carry on my conversation? I'll carry on my conversation. One of them being Na'Vi. We'll kind of stick with the EU theme here, Martin, or CIS, so to speak. Na'Vi is not looking great this competition whatsoever.
No, they had their structures. Also, they have made a substitute change. The Kemba's playing instead of Orange, even though Orange actually did extremely well for the games that he was able to play. There must be some other kind of reasoning behind it, and I actually don't know them, so I don't want to go too deep into it. I want to wrap up the whole it's early in the morning and stuff. Even though my eyes look starry and they're look tired, I'm as fresh as a I don't know, a penguin that just got pounded by a killer whale up into the sky. I'm super, super fresh. I'm ready for this. My eyes just don't agree. So let's get into this one here. TSM and Destination Gaming White might actually be running into each other. Malofo might be taking some shots at this one. Oh, yeah, he is. Oh, the drive-by didn't work. Oh, actually worked. Then Iroh is going to be traded with C's. Shots are coming out as well. Macau is going to finish off Iroh real quick here. And Under is going to third-party this one to TSM. This is a really rough spot to be in for TSM. Miracle is going to be taken down. The shotgun master from last game. More shots connecting onto Vard as well. Ooh, Under's going to take him down as well. And now it's just Woogie Boogie left.
Yeah, this has gone all kinds of bad for TSM with the last man on the smokes in the middle of this complete death valley. 2 teams lurking either side to try and claim these final points, and with the nades going up and over, it only takes 1 to find its target. That'll be a 2 for 1. It gets Miraku. He's back down. Wookie Bookie's damaged as well. This is absolutely devastating for TSM. It's a 16th place. That's not good. No shotgun will save them this time round. We will continue the fight. M16, a little bit unorthodox. We've got to work with whatever we find, right? It's one of those things. Under goes down, and now they are in the very awkward predicament that TSM were in. Because look at this. Macau on the opposing side. Another player, basically full 180 of him. Kale will go for the res and they'll stick it through. I suppose for Detonation Gaming, they do have one down on the opposing side, so it is going to be a slow approach to this, but they're just basically being allowed to slowly but surely wrap on Damwon Kia.
Yeah, and this is interesting because this is basically a rotational path that they're using. There's no point in playing. This is not a playable area. It's super far on the east side. It's for Circle 1. This is not worth fighting for, but it just happened to be 3 teams, the same area at the same time, rotating through or scouting to rotate through, and they ended up in a 3-way fight here. And Destination Gaming White looks to be the big winner of this one. They actually managed to get all players up and standing. They have 1 kill. Under's got 3, but he's knocked, and they lost Kale as well. So Yang and Indigo is in a rough spot. Might be able to get kill up by the looks of it. And Sung Yang is in a good wrap onto Gokuri. We'll see if he's going to be able to survive this one, or he's going to come around this ridge. Just no. Timing was off. Gokuri gets out of there. He is disengaged from his team though, and there's not going to be able refrag is not an option for him here. And Monkey actually managed to get all 4 up. The pressure did this is a misplay here from Destination. If you got 2 knocks and you're on the east side, you're not getting into any prime position inside the circle. You need to commit into getting the points from the kills that you've already knocked. They were in a 4-2 at this point. They had a superior position as well. They should have put some more pressure onto them. That's definitely a situation they should have capitalized on a bit. You see, even here, they're not into any prime position. They're 10th, 11th, 13th maybe team getting into the circle. They're not going to get any prime from this one here. So interesting decision making. They didn't want to commit. Maybe it's quote unquote bad habit from the weekly survival where you just want to make sure that you have 4 alive. But I'm not sure about that one yet. But we'll see. DA in a good positional and a rotational position. They're coming into the southeast side, and they might be running into some trouble themselves. FaZe Clan is sitting in a 2-2 split, a 1-1-2 split actually. Now that HC is leaving as well, and they're going to try to keep 3 compound. Now, Digitalytics and LG Divine, a fight we saw earlier in a compound as well, they will both commit to it at this point. Levi's turning around. Smash might be able to get into a good position for this one. Going to put some pressure. More shots coming in, not connecting anything just yet. And we're going to be seeing a really good Western fight here for this one.
Last week's 32nd versus 31st. LG Divine certainly looking a lot more stronger compared to last week as well, coming off the back of a win, and a big win at that, putting them at the top. It's only 1 game down. Anything could happen. It could be a flash in the pan, but certainly 19 points is going to do wonders for anybody's confidence going forward throughout these next 8 games for today, for tomorrow. Straight after this, remember as well, or within an hour at least, we do have the weekly finals starting, so it's PUBG all day long. Go forward to see who's going to be bagging some serious cash for week number 2. E36 has turned up. See the third party at the distance as well. Second player will fall on the side of DA. This time it will be Mert. Rather unfortunate. They have to fight tooth and nail for this one, given that it is a pretty prime bit of meat when it comes to the map side of it. Flashbang down, catches him on the res. 1-2, thank you. Mert down as well. Comes down to Marco. But an absolute blinding shot from Sylphie with a Kar98. The back of the head onto JN does knock him down for now. So there is a tiny bit of breathing room when it comes to Code Marco. There are players down. He can try and capitalize on this one. Really, there's nothing else for him to do but to try and 1v3 this. If he gets that nade, this would be just astronomical. He's somehow picking points up for DA. This is fantastic work. But the damage, Martin, while you can pick up these frags, while you can pick up these scrappy points, the damage has most certainly been done to both of these rosters.
Yeah, this is the point where you just want to try to get as many points out of this game as possible. They're in the southeastern side of the circle, in circle 2. He's not going to get too much out of it. Trading, 23 and 6 HP for both of them. They're going to retreat and heal a little bit. 3 nades on a molly for Turtley. I wonder why he hasn't committed, a molly or something at this point. Kumago has really been able to turn this one around here. Let's see if he's going to be able to flash out and maybe get another kill. Ooh, that's a good one, Code Marco. He's going to try to capitalize on that too. And he's advancing, taking more shots, connecting a few, taking Turtle down as well. 3 points for Code Marco and 3 points for DA. Meanwhile, Turtle and LG Divine also got a few points out of this one here. Next circle, closing slowly. T1 on a really clever long rotation, avoiding everything going up on the north side. And circle is going to pop. Let's see where it goes. It actually goes quite nicely onto the area where we have a really high and tall hill. E36 looking really good. Sonics has to advance on them for later. FaZe Clan and the boys from Petrica Road might be going into a fight somewhat soon. And also Detonation Gaming Wide on the east side has to move again. T1 in another move. They will have to go into the north, and they will probably rotate all the way on top of the northern side here.
And you can see for LG Divine what a difference winning 1 game makes. Straight back down into 15th instantly. wrap it up. Code Marco pulling a Miracle and some sort of miracle, been able to at least recover a few points after a very, very scrappy fight, which seats DA with one player left. Gokuri just wants to try and run his friend off the road. Or maybe it's just an IQ 9000 play to give him some level of defense. Doesn't happen, though. DA also will fall in 14th. Long finds him from Petricor Road. Detonation Gaming White, been seen from multiple angles now from FaZe Clan. Let's not forget that FaZe basically dropped here at the start and have just gone... They had a full 4 one-man split at the initial beginning process of this game for the first 5 to 10 minutes. And then they've consolidated themselves all together now. So with the 2-2 pretty much holding the 2 priority compounds front and back of this circle, they do hold a large chunk of land. But if either of those compounds get pulled up by a team of 4, that's when it begins to get difficult. Rusty Zera finds Aqua 5. Aqua 5's calling for some help. There has to be an emergency plan here, but T1 just needs to be careful. Godspeed was talking about communication. I know it's also something Paper Thin's been told, spoke to me about when it comes to the IGL work and such. I just want to, for T1, they need to be careful that they don't bite off more than they can chew. You know, the one person's calling for help and support, and Aqua 5, you then put yourself out of position completely. The rest of the team gets punished for it. So you have to be very hyper-aware of the land and terrain that you're working with, but more importantly, where people are positioned compared to that.
Yeah, for sure. And also, right now, they're in a rough position, considering they're in the southeast side. Shots coming in here from Damonkia and Division.S Game, and Senya is going to find Dainche, and the fights are going to be happening between those two teams in the north. Meanwhile, we see Indigo. Shots are coming out. Utility being used here for this one. Indigo sees one. He's going to be completely outflanked by Long K. Super well played by him here. And he has a 4X and a K98 as well. Damonkia is going to actually disengage from this fight here. Circle is pushing them super far away, and this is a rough one. Once this circle closes, it goes from 1 damage per second to 3, so it's going to be rough to try to survive for this one. Under does have a Garosa, and Division.X Gaming is going to be the winner of this fight.
My major concern is you talking about the damage. I'm seeing 2 members of Furia just pushing Oasis and going for a big old long rotate, and again, the circle's even worse for them as well. They have to turn and face this one because the meds just might not be available to be able to put them through for this one. K7 starting to make some noise in the kill feed. 2 players will fall. They do hold a decent compound. It is just outside of the circle, so Tiamba can hold them dead to rights if Na'Vi doesn't decide it wants to try and fight through that one. FaZe Clan, even though they were holding the 2-2 and it looks strong, it's all for naught as the circle completely moves away from them. Your 3 central teams at the moment, E36, Sonics, Petricor Road. Yes, you do have Tiamba just lurking in the distance, but right now they are the 3 kings of this mountain. Everybody else from the north has to do all the work in the world. The problem is that basically Sonic's position, it covers Martin. I'd probably say vision-wise, maybe 50% of this circle. It's an elevated line of sight, and everybody else has to crawl up that mountain to them.
Yeah, and they actually just strolled into that compound. It wasn't free for them. They had to do nothing than just run into it. So super good reconnaissance work for all them. And this circle ending here is perfect. Like, there's no road. It's just all terrain that you have to work, and it's going to be such a utility heavy fight going into this one here to try to take over. Petricor Road actually managed to take over a really good spot where they have a lot of cover to play with and a lot of line of sights onto everyone else. Wicked, nice shots coming in from him, taking down Destination Gaming Wide. Super nice transfer for him, taking down those 2 points. And they're on the northern side, and they can actually kind of nicely push up this hill once the fight with K7 is kind of finished. Mamu is going to take down Lorena. And now T1 is going to try to run into this one here. It's a rough spot for them. They have to play the northwestern side, and they're going to have to push, you know, Na'Vi and Sonics later.
The thing is with Na'Vi, it's like they're moving in this way that whether it's front and center or back of them, T1's gonna have to take 2 different fights. Na'Vi's split in between them. Starlord's made it to the circle and is further afield, but the rest of Na'Vi's basically pulling up on his position, so I'm assuming we might see that unfold in the kill feed ever so slowly. There we go. Kemba, first victim to fall, but the instant answer back is there. The tab does see it through, but we spoke about T1, this fight continuing. They are on the hillside. They do have to move, but unfortunately they have to move into Na'Vi. Raspu's on the left-hand side of this. be prepared for him to make some kind of entry point onto Na'Vi ever so slowly as he is creeping and lurking, Tiggleton. You can just kind of see from the distance of how much vision Sonics will have onto this one. Aqua 5 has took a bullet to the brain, and ultimately that's going to be the nail in the coffin. Raspu, GG, thank you very much. T1's in 12th. Now position has been noted for Raspu's. We will anticipate that Na'Vi know the location of this final player. They should be able to wipe him out, although they do have one down, so it is, to be fair, it's panic stations for Na'Vi as well. Circle updates, and it's really only E36 that are punished out of our 3 teams that were controlling that before.
Yeah, and super continuously interesting fight for this one here. Ragnaldino is going to try to push on to Tianba. They're onto a kind of a rough spot here. If they wrap on the eastern side, they will run into Petrichor Road and FaZe Clan. If they go on the other side, they're going to run into Tianba and K7. So they have to force a fight here, and they try to commit for the Tianba fight, which is the correct decision for this kind of angle and what they have available to them. Lin Shundo is going to be committing some nades and everything. They have a shack to play with, and Smokes is already committed. Good smokes, actually, to play out from here for Meta Gaming. Now Fraspu gonna smoke his way up. He's gonna try to survive this one. Na'Vi, there's 4 guys alive after that rest comes through, and he's gonna have a rough time. He's probably just gonna try to run for it.
Yeah, the pins have been pulled, and fortunately for Na'Vi, that has been slowed down by Raspu's presence alone. Again, we spoke about the vision, the commanding dominance that Sonics will have from this hillside, and yeah, it's all backed up. Not only is it a hillside compound, it has a secondary level to it, so you can just look through these windows and just rain fire from above. Very punishing for anyone who's on the west or south side of these buildings. Down one key, however, may have found a little bit of an entry point just to the south where Sonics may potentially not be watching, so just kind of look to see if that unfolds further afield. Quinn does have an eye on that small angle, so we see if he does at least catch him. I'll keep an eye out for the tracer fight, see if anything does unfold for it. Everyone else generally is inside the circle. E36 are just edging themselves forward a little bit more. Quite a bit of safety in the cover of the hillside, but given that it's so close to the circle, we'd anticipate it doesn't go much further. Raspu tries to do whatever he can. How many players from Na'Vi overwhelm him? It's a GG. See you later. Down in 11 position now for Furia. Down one gear, actually. I'm seeing on the map, Martin. They're wrapping into Na'Vi. They fancy this one.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of a rough push for them. Surprised they didn't go for the south push. Not onto Sonics, but just on the south side where they can push uphill. And the shots are going to be traded. Under's going to take down Kemba. Senya's going to find Under. Shrimps is going to find Besto. And this is a really, really rough area for this one to be played out. Circle is pushing them. They're probably going to lose a few players from this one. Oh, that's a good... Oh, if that was cooked a little bit more, that was insane. Flash is coming out. Under is going to be lost for this one. Kale trying to survive. Try to get as much out of this one as he possibly can. But this has hurt Na'Vi more than it's hurt Damonkia. They were already down to 2. And he's going to be going down. Damonkia out in 10th.
Yeah, another punishing circle here, unfortunately, given that everyone else just has to work their way up to the priority compounds. Petrichor Road have not really moved in the last 3 or 4 circles. They've been chilling. Still, top of the hillside, but we do have FaZe Clan lurking in the distance. Same goes for DXG. E36 also just towards this main compound. Sylphia needs to find some sort of entry frag and give them an avenue of approach if he can. He's already found one thus far this game. 1K, only 2 frags across the board, but still. Meta Gaming, where are you guys? Okay, you've got a fair amount of work to do. They're up towards the northeast, just behind downwind of FaZe Clan. Tiamba and K7 will be above them. Tiamba's been laid here for quite some time, but all the utility across Meta, I think it was Meta anyway, was just committed to the cause of trying to flush out Tiamba, but they stayed their feet, and they just laid down and let the bombardment unfold. Send you down. Tab, last man standing for Na'Vi. Has to go up a full 4-stack Sonic squad inside the building. Probably won't fare too well for him, although I do more than welcome to 4v1s. Feel free to crack on, give us a bit of a show. DXG, what's the play here? Because E36 just got ahead of you, but In fact, all three players in front of him are all, what, 20% HP, Martin? This could be dicey.
Yeah, they could be opening up this one. Oh, nice shots from Long K. Headshot with the bolt. Long K trying to trade for this one here, and it's really culminating in a good fight. FaZe has a bit of uphill battles, multiple uphill battles that they have to get ahead of. E36 lost another one. It's not good for them considering that they had that compound. They had to fight a bit earlier for this one if they wanted to take advantage of the area they had. IQ 500 is going to take down Satu. Mamu is going to find Sylvia. And now Petrica Road is looking really good for this one. FaZe Clan is just across though. IQ 500 finds Mamu and Amonot finds IQ 500.
Underneath the vehicle as well, so he's got a little bit of hard cover. Arms in the air like you just don't care. Wicked's like, I am completely blind here. Please help me out. I need support. Long K with another Car 98. And so he took down the bolt action player on the opposing side. Wicked. One around the corner, one down below. Nade is ticked. Pin is pulled. Does it find the target? It absolutely does. Finds one on the floor. He realized that there is a second there. If he banks it off the back, it could do some damage. It is a molly. Hits the building. The fire will spread. So he knows now they are not taking cover and residency within the shack. So we can look further afield for Lin. See if somehow we can flush him out on this one. For Meta, it would be a way to get above their previous score is to take the top. Fuzzface finally comes in onto IQ 500. He's instantly responded on, though, by MBK. Now things are starting to get messy, Martin. Now things are starting to get a little bit tight when we look towards this eastern embankment from the north all the way down to the south. What? We've got 6 teams all fighting it out, trying to take prime position. And then all of a sudden, you've got Sonic still at distance, just bodying people from outside the circle.
Oh, Lin Shun, is he going to get anything out of this one? Trading one, actually gets one down. Lin Shun still 30. Nope. Ragnar is going to finish it off. And Division X Gaming actually finishes off FaZe. And meanwhile, we're down to 5 teams. Petrica Road is one of them. They still have a full 4-man standing. And they're putting pressure onto Division X Gaming right now. BK is going to find Ike's left and finish him off. And Sonics and Meta Gaming is on the southwest and the northeast of this one. They could completely collapse on these teams here and just third-party them whenever. Gray. Hurts. And then BK. Nice shots coming out with M4. Long K is going to hear that one. He's going to push onto it with the AK. 20 bullets. Is that enough? Yeah, it's going to be enough. Connecting a fuse. Down to 16 HP himself, though. 8 kills for Long K, though.
Oh, Mamu. With the deny, Long K done a hell of a lot of the work for DXG. Division X will not be complaining at that. While getting the first spot's always important, given the 10-point value when we do play on the esports rules. Certainly, almost doing that on yourself with 8 frags. It's not a bad going whatsoever. Sonics worked their way up the hillside. Circle wasn't favorable to them, but to be fair, everyone else mashed together seems to have paid off for them. They can kind of play cleanup duty here. 2-2-1 for Pero, Meta, and K7. I suppose for Sonics, it's just kind of a sweep and clear scenario. Make sure this side of the hill that they control. They do have probably the biggest amount of problems, to be fair, if they can find it early, which would be Petricol Road. Down on the south, they can then focus their attention towards Metagaming, who will have the more higher ground. Wicked flashbang only. No lethal utility in terms of frag or molly to try and get into that ditch and flush them out. Mime spots the 2 players. At least I believe he spotted the 2 anyway. I think he clipped the head of the second player below him as well. Still. Who for K7 towards the top, just laying down and hoping no one walks his way, or maybe if he does, then spring the trap, so the snake in the grass will play for placement. Metagaming just on the edge. Don't have to do too much of advancement just yet. And probably still got this weird back and forth going on between Sonics and Petricol Road. Third party happens from Wicked, though. That would be kind of devastating for Petricol. 5 kills between 2 players. Again, things going pretty damn good here for Meta. Top of the board. 24 points in total. Can't be arguing with that one. And even a 4th place finish would seat them pretty fairly sturdily within the second game. We do have 8 matches. Let's not forget about that. Still all 4 to go tomorrow. Another 2 today. Who? Nice shot straight onto Ragnar. pings him in the head, and it's job done. Do you push on that, though? I think you absolutely should, because you're going to be up against the blue, my dude, and everyone else is going to be looking your way. Out in the open, no chance, shut down. Sonic seal the deal and move into the top 3.
Yeah, and they're on the road to the win for this one here. They're 4 guys live versus a 2 and a 2. Meta is really tried and tested. They're rough out for this one here. They have been fighting so much. They're low on utility, low on armor, low on durability. Shots are coming out. We can actually manage to find a level 3 vest that was just slightly broken. And Gray has a half 3 and a half 3 helmet and a 2/3 of a 3 vest, so they can actually definitely last for some while here for this fight. Sonics is playing it somewhat passively. They want the other teams to fight or engage in the fight before they start engaging themselves to make sure that they get the most important 10 points for this one. And obviously, with the circle as it is, they actually are in a really favorable spot. The other teams have to move first. They can play around the shacks and the edges and the ridges that they have available to them. And that's a really, really good area for them. So they have to win this one here. This is their game to lose for sure.
Certainly Meta been in the top 3, even if they went out now and bowed out. It's going to be good for the confidence. I think for teams with younger players and certainly up at global environments, confidence is key. It's when you go to these LAN environments, it's a totally different ball game whatsoever. Being sat at home in your bedroom, in your comfort zone, you're completely out of that comfort zone. And I think for some of these teams, yes, the adaptation of survival versus frag points and so on and so forth, and everything else we can go through these metas. It's just generally the environment altogether. It's a totally different ball game, totally different environment, and you've got to play up to that. So confidence is key. It's where your IGLs you need to be leaning on for quite a lot of points. It's time for metagaming to go. They know the time is hot, even if it's a 4 versus 2. This is their only time to strike. A second place is still pretty damn good, no matter which way you cut it. The trade-off is there. It comes into a 1 versus 3. Ragnaldinho just trying to find anything. Even if we get one more point from the side of Sonics, it will be a valiant attempt. There's the knock. There's the flush. Does he
he
get
got
it?
it.
Quite catch it. Okay, he got it. Nevertheless, it's Sonics with the win. So a GG at the top. The North American boys do pick up their first win of the bottom 16. Not necessarily a team that we anticipated down in the bottom 16, Martin, especially with the performance they've been having thus far. North America by far strongest roster coming into this. A lot of questions wondering, do they have the capabilities to transfer that to a global level? I absolutely think those questions have been answered, and they do. But down in the bottom 16 is not where they want to be. But that could be said for an awful lot of the teams here, and everyone now is just fighting to claw their way back.
I completely agree here for this one. But as I was talking about in the beginning of the previous match, I think it's a really good time for them to have a week where they don't qualify. This makes them, humble in a way where it kind of enables them to say, you know what, guys, we're not going to qualify for every week, and let's accept that fact, and let's just try to improve on and work on what we've got. So I think they're going to play extremely well here in the bottom 16 as well, and I think they're going to qualify for a lot more weekly finals going forward.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you could be dragged back down to earth quite instantly, to be honest with you. You can be on the highest of highs, winning games left, right, and center, and then it's like, bump, you haven't got a game in God knows how long, and now you're in the bottom 16. So yeah, it is a bit of a kickback down to earth, and maybe a wake-up call for certain teams on how this whole competition is going to be played. But for now, that's enough from us, from a North American team winning. We'll throw it back to the North American Des team. I'm sure they'll be very happy about that one, gentlemen. Enjoy.
Yes, we are happy about that one, and I don't care what you say. Sonics does take the win, as you see more smiles on the faces of the panel than we saw on the faces of the players themselves. That looked like it was more of a relief thing than anything, Godspeed. It is maybe all business today.
I mean, I completely agree with Avenger as well as Sims. I mean, I think it's a good down-to-earth situation, and I think them going down and early now is better than them going, in one of the final weeks where the payout is obviously massive. And I think their attitude and their calm demeanor after that win, and it just seems like they have it all together. I really like what I'm seeing from Sonics. Obviously, I don't like that they're down here in the first place, but as both our fantastic casters said, I think it's a good thing as well, and I think they're treating it as such.
Now, to be fair, that was kind of a weird early game there, Cameron, where we saw the hard shift go to the north and then the hard shift back to the south, which really kind of threw a lot of teams kind of all over the place. But meanwhile, Sonic's biggest beneficiary of that, they get the top of the mountain, they get the compound, they play it out from there. But they, you know, there's something to be said about being able to win the games that you're supposed to win, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's basically the name of the game. Especially now that we're at the weekend where we're back to the normal super format, it's 100%. You're not going to win every single game. The goal is to not get that first place win every single game. You want to get that many points, but when you do see an opportunity like Sonic's had here with the compound that they had, with the hard shifts that you mentioned, you absolutely need to try and win that game to the best of your abilities, because that point jump from second to first is 4 points. Everything else is like 1 point gradual and then that big giant jump. And so Sonics were able to use the hill, the structure of the hill to their advantage, basically try and pick up the damage, pick up the wounded, well, mostly wounded teams that were coming in from the north. I'm talking about Furia, Navi, T1, who they did most of the damage to themselves before Sonics even had to deal with them, but they were able to isolate their little pocket of the map away from everyone else, keep 4 up while doing so, and then have a huge advantage coming into the end.
So Godspeed, another game down and another time where we're left wondering what the hell is going on with T1. What was that push? I know we were talking about it, the you know, the Navi thing, the Navi fight. Tell me what was kind of going through your head when you saw that.
I mean, it's actually crazy because I was just thinking about T1 and Navi in that fight. It's almost like it's almost like, you know, man, I think it was just a misplay from they had multiple options, and instead they send the one option that made Star-Lord kind of fight Navi by himself, and I get trying to hold them out, but yeah, it just wasn't. It didn't. I don't know what's going on with T1, man. I'm sitting here fumbling with words because I'm trying to formulate a plan for them, and I don't even know. They're not working well together. They seem to always be split. They lose members in rotation when they shouldn't, and they're not even winning gunfights with arguably one of the strongest rosters in their region. So I honestly, and Navi's a different story completely, but we'll get to that later.
We will get to that later, but guys, we're going to take a break real quick to reset for the next next 2 games rather. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Hello PUBG Esports fans. The PUBG Global Invitational.S, our biggest tournament yet, begins in February. With a tournament this big, there's a lot to take in. So let's take a look at the format and rules of PGI.S 2021. PGI.S's main event, the weekly series, will be held for a total of 6 weeks starting from February 8th. It is divided into the weekly survival taking place on weekdays and the weekly final held over the weekend. Unlike the previous global tournaments, points are not accumulated week over week, giving every team the same fighting chance each week. Weekly Survival features 16 matches held across 3 weekdays. The goal for teams is simple: win a single chicken dinner. Once you win, you stop playing and move on to the weekly final. The next team on the waitlist takes your place and a new match begins. This list is determined by ranked decision matches to decide the order our 32 teams participate. These 24 deciding matches take place over 3 days starting from February 5th and will divide our teams into 4 different groups. The top 16 teams from these groups face off in the weekly survival matches first. The weekly final is more like the PUBG Esports you're used to. 10 matches are held across 2 days, and points the teams earn are added up to decide their final ranking for the week. The 16 teams that played in the weekly final get the first shot at next week's weekly survival, and the remaining 16 teams decide their placement on the waitlist during a bottom 16 match held every Saturday, before the weekly final. From there, the cycle continues throughout the tournament. One of the big differences with PGI.S is that instead of receiving prize money based on your final rank is determined by how much prize money you've won. We're awarding prize money every week, and the team who has collected the most at the end will be crowned our PGI.S champion. Here's how it breaks down. The first 8 teams to win a weekly survival match each week take home an automatic cash prize, earning more the sooner they win. From there, the winners of the weekly finals tournament get an even bigger cash prize. The first place prize being $25,000 on week 1, and growing to an astounding $500,000 by week 6, giving teams lots of opportunity to catch up and claim the title. Winning isn't the only way teams are earning cash though. 30% of the total profit made from PGI.S item sales goes back to participating teams. This money will be distributed based on the percentage of money each team won in the tournament, with bigger rewards for the higher performing teams. So, not only do you get cool skins and voting coupons to earn even more cool skins, but you're also helping your favorite teams bring home more well-deserved prize money. Win-win! That about wraps up our overview of the PUBG Global Invitational.S. Initial ranking decisions happen on February 5th, and the first official matches kick off on February 8th. So be sure to tune in, pick your winners, and cheer on your favorite teams across 8 weeks of intense PUBG action.
Two games down, 2 games to go today, followed by 4 more tomorrow. Let's take a look at our overall leaderboard to see where everybody is sitting, and a little bit of a surprise up there at the top. One we haven't really talked about too much, but 2 second places in a row with a bunch of kills is going to put Metagaming right there in that top spot. Godspeed.
Yeah, I mean, they've been playing really well as far as the super settings are concerned. They haven't had any issues here. And then obviously Sonics with a very nice win for themselves in the last game. But I mean, I really hate harping, but I'm really still looking at T1 and I'm looking at Navi as well. I mean, FaZe, I'll let Cammy touch on them, but T1 and Navi were teams that I did not expect to have really middling tournaments, and that's exactly what both of them are having right now.
It's not too great so far, but again, only 2 games. We still got 6 more to play, Cameron. Do you want to touch on FaZe, or is something else sticking out to you here? You want to? Go for it. Hey, I know you can. I'm just saying, I'm throwing it out there to you. I'm giving you the option.
So this is the thing. This is what I think I said this at the top of the show as well. I don't think FaZe are looking bad, and I still don't think so. It's only 2 games that we've seen here. That's obviously such a small sample size. And, well, the circles have been... you can't always blame the circles. Circles are always weird, but I also think that these ones have been a little iffy to work around. It is a little worrying that this might be the start of a slip for FaZe, because while they are not playing terribly, this isn't the land monster that we all expected FaZe to be, and I think making a pure decision right now is way too early to say, but I do have my eyes on them, and I'm kind of worried, is this gonna spiral into something more that they can't necessarily control? On the flip side, and we brought them up at the very beginning, metagaming, they're actually looking better than before. This was a team that just brought in a new player of Wicked, and you could tell that they were still trying to make it work, still trying to get everything figured out. They had good players on their team, especially Lord Sparking is one of the biggest talents to be coming out of that region from the previous couple of months. But they still had to really get it together. The past 2 games, they've been playing good, even though we criticized their inability to take game 1. And this game, they had a couple of imperfect pushes, but overall, they've been on the up and up. And so I think a team that a lot of people have said we have to see how they grow, you're already seeing metagaming grow. So that's a contrast between 2 different squads that are having a different direction that they might be leading on.
FaZe would probably be the first one to tell you that they are not playing up to their expectations, but I would posit, my friends, that FaZe has always started slow, and they ramp things up. They ramp up the production as the weeks go on. Godspeed. I want to throw a different team out at you. Are you ready? You ready for this? I know you're ready for this.
I might be ready for this.
All right, you might be. DXG, 18 kills in the past 2 games. They are fragging right now. What is it about this team that's kind of like, it seems like they're ready to scrap, they're ready to fight, but they just can't put themselves in the position to maybe win?
I mean, you have a player on that team like Long K, right, who is just, without a lack of a better term, really nuts. And I think that team
gets cracked
in general. I think they fight really well, but the overall macro is what kind of slows them down. They tend to never enter a final circle with more than 2 members. I mean, even towards late game if they make it that far. But they remind me a lot of, to be honest, kind of the South American teams, where they're so scrappy and so good in these team fights, but they lose a lot of limbs or members, so to speak, coming out of it. And that's kind of been the case with them. But I definitely think if they can just keep their squad alive, at least 3 up going into the end game, they can definitely be a huge threat, especially with like a big fragger like Long K on the squad.
Cameron, we see Tiamba on our screen right now, currently sitting in 15th place with 3 points. Are we ready to say I told you so yet?
I didn't think that they'd be bad. That's the thing. I just didn't think that they, like, when you look at the top teams that came out of China, I put them, I think, 3rd place. Behind.
TSG back.
Yeah, TSG were up there, and who is the 4th? They're not in this lobby.
4 a.m. Petrichor.
MCG. I had MCG at the top. Yeah, MCG. They had a big
hot.
stumble at the beginning. We all know about that. Nonetheless, I don't think Tiamba were going to be bad by any stretch, and I definitely didn't think they were going to be like this.
Definitely.
I honestly, I don't know.
A little below.
It's hard for me to really say what the problem is. They like to have a lot of medium spreads, but we've seen them being punished a lot, and you also need to be able to win your fights when you try and take land control like that. And I just feel like they aren't able to win their fights, which is silly because it's Danva, right? They should be able to win their fights.
Yeah. It's a little weird. It's a little weird. I mean, Godspeed. I guess there's an argument to be made that maybe all of China really kind of underperforming so far. I mean, we were coming into this thinking that it was going to be a runaway. China was going to run away with all of this. I mean, whether it be it TSG or MCG or 4AM, but so far it really hasn't looked that way. Do you think it's more of a symptom of the playing to get a victory?
So, okay, so I'll say this. I think of all the Chinese teams, definitely 4AM has been the strongest. But I also think, the switch in formats it's very brutal. And it's very taxing on these players, especially like I said earlier in the top of the show, when you have multiple second places and you just can't get it done, it's demoralizing. But that being said, I mean, you got to switch it up. You have to realize that that's one format. If you're sent to this one, whether it's in the top 16 or bottom, you still have to perform, and these guys have to find a way to get out of that. So I don't know, maybe it's the region clashes that is kind of messing these guys up, playing with different regions, different styles. But they have time to adapt, so we'll see.
Well, we don't have time to adapt. We've got to get into game. And we are ready to take you to game number 3, where we'll leave the dusty fields of Miramar and head over to the verdant green pastures and rolling hills of Erangel. And the two men that are going to take you there, Avenger and the Sims. Boys, take us away.
Thank you very much, Poro. Game start. Bottom 16, week 2. Match number 3, moving into Erangel, Martin. Different scene, different pastures, the green pastures, as our friend James likes to continuously remind us of. But as we look at the leaderboards, I've got to say this time round, even though we are only 2 games in, things are starting to look a little bit different. Before it was down 1 gaming. They were kind of starting to run away with little things here and there, but so far I've not necessarily seen what I would anticipate to be that top level team. I do feel it's going to come. I've just got this really good feeling that they're going to get all the way up there, and still these next 2 games, it's been a bit of a warm-up initially to warm up, and now we're rocking and rolling. I'm still believing in them. I'm still believing, Martin.
Yeah, I think they're definitely a team that can ramp up throughout the tournament as well, and we're going to see that. If we're going to see it today, I don't know, but they can pop off tomorrow and they'll still be able to have 10, 12 games to play once we get into the weekly survival. Though this plane is one of the most open planes in terms of any circle you can get. You can get a north, northwest, northeast. A little bit of contest here for cars. It looks like TSM is kind of pushed in a little bit more than they used to. They have DA and Rushok. They didn't commit anyone to Watertown either, so it's going to be a bit of a rougher one for them. Destination Gaming White here going for the school app split, so it's a fair and share, and Circle actually goes quite central as well, just east of the apps, southwest of the Yasnaya area. And LG Divine is going to have all of Yasnaya to themselves, while they have June on the road up ahead, the Bendy Road. 3 guys in this compound, Sims. That is questionable.
Yeah, it's probably kind of gives you some idea of what we're playing with, right? Sometimes it's dire straits, and sometimes you just got to be able to run with and make work whatever you've been handed to you. And sometimes that isn't necessarily the ultimate best place to be. I mean, we're given the circle, at least they're not necessarily that far away from the center point. Wookie Bookie off on his own, kind of looting around the ruins area. A couple of shots are starting to unfold towards. You know what? I did see a DB in someone's hand. I'm like, okay, let's get the decibels ringing. Let's make some noise with that bad boy. It's time to open up a can with it. But yeah, the shotguns again, as you've kind of stipulated before, they are more viable. Whether or not it's viable now is a different one. We're more towards that point grab game when it comes to frags, and as opposed to survivability. Certainly holding down a compound if they come through the doors and the breaches and stuff. A lot more to be able to control and contain with that weapon, certainly. Teams probably the biggest struggle for this circle. We'll kind of touch on them. E36 miles away up in Zaki, a little bit of a rotate to do. Pure Boy is closer to K7, more towards Severny, so he might be able to have a quick scout and see what's faring in front of him. Where else have we got? Further afield, Petrikol Road, Sosnovka. They've got to come off of between Millie and Novo. Navi, usual home territory for them, so could be a default standard game, but unfortunately, the ship of Na'Vi just hasn't managed to correct itself yet. It's been off course for quite some time.
Yeah, and this circle is not a beneficiary one for them. They're gonna have a rough time getting into this one, considering how many teams they've got between them and the center of the circle. Division.S Gaming on an extremely early rotate, like insanely early rotate. They must be very low on meds, utility, bullets even. And Meta is pulling up on this one here. It is Wicked pulling up on his fellow countryman of Kale. Kale is actually going to disengage from this one here and going to say, you know what, I'm not going to join this one. I think Wicked heard that. He's turning around and joining that one. Oh my god, Malofo just picked the Metralias out of that. And he's going to be finished off as well. And you know what, this compound, it must be bringing, nightmares to the DA guys.
A few people are saying, like, how cool. I can't believe they haven't qualified. I can't believe they haven't qualified. You know what? When you drop in on 4 AM at the start, that's why you've not gone through, okay? Like,
Hello,
live and learn.
darkness,
Live and
my
learn,
old
boys.
friend.
I know, I had a couple of giggles last week, and it's like, it's just one of those things, but it's sometimes in these scenarios, in these environments, it's not worth hot dropping. Just leave someone else to it and bite the bullet, just let it go. And as you say, as soon as they drive by it, there is a small shadow of remembrance from a previous time when this compound belonged to you. Metralias going down certainly won't fare them any favors whatsoever. They are plumb center of this circle, but again, losing a player really can be very detrimental as we go throughout the game. Everyone's starting to magnetize towards the center of this one with the Yasnaya Fields looking like a very pivotal position to be holding down. DXG certainly, to kind of expand on what Poro was saying on the desk earlier on, Martin, they've started to be really impressive. I mean, honestly, like 18 frags when you've only got 21 points, it's kind of showing the way that you can play this game, right? You don't necessarily always have to be about the win. If you can frag out when you've got one player picking up 8 in one game single-handedly, it's another way to get the job done.
Yeah, and they were actually extremely close to qualifying as well. The game where Buriam, they actually they clutched it and managed to take that from them. I was quite sure that Destination, not Destination, DXG, Division X Gaming, they were managing to probably take that one. So, but it was close, and the rest of the games they didn't really manage too much. They only had 5 games of that week. So if they continue this one here, and they get those 10, 12 matches. Maybe all of day 2 and 3, 11 matches is kind of a situation where, okay, we play all games in day 2, all games in day 3. We're going to have plenty of that, and they're going to be ready for it. I think that's a good kind of area to aim for. Anything more than that is fantastic. And this circle opens up a lot of opportunities. 8C actually staying a bit in Milton, taking some shots at Petrica Road. It's a long... And they're actually trading. 80 took some damage as well. Meanwhile, the rest of the face guys, they're rotating. I think Gustav is actually going for Heaven. He's at least scouting for it. That would be a really good compound to be able to grab for this one. Division X Gaming is already in Mansion, so... And he's obviously not aware about that. He's not getting shot at. He's turning left. Okay, so he's definitely... This is a really good scout. The amount of kind of space that he's away from both compounds and both areas is a really good amount that he's not committing alone to Heaven. He didn't hear any shots. He didn't see anything. So now he's just going to take the car on the other side, and he's going to try to put it safe in here. So... They're getting 2 guys in, Phosphase as well committing to this, and they're getting the Heaven here for phase 1 for themselves. Now, Furia and LG Divine, they are going to be fighting for this one. Turtle, he is close to getting knocked by Rusticera. Raspu is also going to be peeking that one. Super well played by Raspu. He knew the angles was on point there. Nate's coming out, and LG Divine is disengaging with this one here. That Furia has already completely taken over this compound, and they are committing to the eastern side. They're gonna take the Yasnaya Yellows probably.
Yeah, the information coming through to give him the confirmation on the kill. Gustav did finally commit towards Heaven, but FaZe took a little bit of time to be able to get to his position. Fuzzface on point, on target. Finds the first frag, but you can see there is damage coming his way as well. Needs to be extremely careful, down to very little HP. We'll disengage from this one, and Gustav's there just to be a nuisance. Just peacock them back, keep them stationary into a corner for now where they're trying to hit the res. He's trying to deny this. I'm fine with this one pushing out, but he needs to be careful of Amanon, who's just up in the windows. That could be a bit of a refrag and a trade straight off, but it looks like Gustav has got his number written. Realizes the scenario. He's done his job, Martin. Push out for a little bit. Buy some time. Be a nuisance. Let the rest of the team rally behind you, and now they've arrived. They can maybe strike this with full force.
Yeah, and this compound is shareable if both teams kind of accept that. Also, again, this is phase one. This next circle could literally shift to west, and they wouldn't be in. So it's not worth fighting for and committing 2 or 3 bodies to it for 2 or 3 points if it's not going to be in late game. So this kind of passive, semi-passive approach to it so far, if you can get a few knocks, maybe a kill without committing too much yourself and without overextending and losing 1 or 2 players, that was actually the play for them. Now, T1 has taken over school. Detonation Gaming, White is in the apartment, and they're sharing it quite nicely with the J compound. Just to wrap up the thought before is, I completely agree. The people, and Frost has said this as well and completely agrees, people that are looting Rorschach and Garden, they don't get J. Like, the J compound belongs to the school and app scene.
Yeah, I can kind of roll with that one. Yeah, for sure. It's I mean, it's obviously it's questionable until these circles actually come in, where things are going to position to whether or not it actually comes out towards the end of it. But it's certainly a difficult one, especially when so many teams enjoy doing that, because it is central of the map near enough. You do have access to all the vehicles and so on and so forth. It's not a bad place to loot. It's not a bad place to go by any means, and seems to work for a lot of teams. But it's just so many teams want it. Now we're gonna just disengage from that conversation whatsoever, because what in the world is that shift? It puts the Yasnaya upon plumb center of the map, and basically nobody's in a good 60% of it. The entire north is open. If we get the double shift back to back, that is just a devastating blow. This means that everyone down in the south now has to migrate. This is just, honestly, ducks flying away for the winter, just going to warmer climates here. It's going to be absolute carnage. Wicked and sparking drive-bys. Kale, first victim, under. Sets up in the ditches, hoping that players go wandering by. There's an instantaneous trade-off here. Look at that quick little dip down. I like that one. Put the head away for all but a moment. The rest of the players will commit to the cause, though. Under does stay alive. M24's in the distance, lurking. Code Marco being one of them. Looking to see what else is going on. Silzen pulls up. Gets Yong Yang, goes down, and now it... Oh, God, I jinxed them. I said I was looking for more from Damwon, and unfortunately, it's a 16th place. This is just... These circles, this competition, have been so unforgiving. My word, it makes for a lot of fun, but for these players, they are working for these wins.
Yeah, it's some hard fought for wins and games in general. And looking at this circle and looking at how this fight is going to be, we're going to see some teams committing to Yasnaya early. Even though, like, my number one rule of thumb is don't go into the city unless you know it ends there. And with this one, you literally cannot guarantee a Yasnaya ending, because it's in circle 4. It's going to go away from water. Water is literally right next to Yasnaya. So unless it shifts like somewhat perfectly on the east side, where it like contains all of Yasnaya without having too much water, then it's going to be a circle that goes away from water and most likely ends around the field area south of Yasnaya. But again, we did see a game where it was like in the Yasnaya fields, still had some of Yasnaya in, and then it ended up hard shifting towards Yasnaya twice, and ended up being a really good game for Liquid. So this definitely can turn out really well. Dangche and T1, they're on the west side, south of gas station, on the Bendy Road. And Furia has the compound close to them. Tianba has the one northeast of them. And K7 has the garage compound just south of them. So it's going to be a rough one for them. I think they might want to be looking at another kind of entry into this one. Scouting from this situation here and scouting from this area. TSM is, you know what, guys, we're just going to go to Stalba and scout from here. You know, high ground advantage. You know, everything is free. And they're going to be... They're going to be the only ones up here. So if this goes north, it will be insane for them.
It's still a predicament given how we do have that level of water in place. So you're always going to have that questioning your mind of where will it be ending up. But yeah, like, to kind of reiterate, if this somehow managed to yeet it to the north, like, TSM is laughing ice left with a banger of a shot onto the tab. I don't think there's any way he can finish the kill off. The blue is here, so we'll be forced to move. Fuzz versus crate chasing. I'm fine with it. Take the level 3 gear circle.
Ooh.
Not too unfavorable to TSM. It's not quite as further to the north as what they may have wanted. Now, kind of explain, you're in IGL, Martin. You're looking at the circle. You note that the waters is a factor. Where are you wanting to set up on this? What's the by Yasnaya? What's the prime territory?
Circle goes east. The circle is most likely going to end around the edges of Yasnaya. You want to play around the northeastern edges, or if you can, in an open area on the northern side. Committing to Yasnaya here is a Hail Mary, but for a lot of these teams, there is no other options. Like, you want to try to get into Yasnaya, you want to try to get as deep as possible. I don't see this one ending in Yasnaya. I see it ending, you know, on the edges and the outskirts. So playing slow and kind of decisive in this could end up being really well. We're gonna have an urban fight though here. We're in for a really, really good game here, though, Sims.
Yeah, I mean, for the players, it's going to be complete hell, and it's just like a war zone. Look at how many teams. We've still got 15 teams standing, and there's what, 1, 2, 3... There's only 5 of them, so 10 teams have already committed to Yasnaya. T1 just on the outskirts by the pond. Sonic's Na'Vi over by the west, yet to make an entry point into this one. FaZe Clan still working on the back of Heaven. TSM towards the top. Petrichor Road out towards the east in the fields. They're the teams that are not committed right now. Everybody else, well, it's just kind of find a building to take residency in and hope for dear God that it's going to come your way. I mean, look at this. Even looking down towards the stairs, there's no rest for the wicked. Sylphia from a different angle altogether. This is the telltale story of how this one is going to play out. It is going to be murder. It is going to be chaos. It's going to be urban chaos. Like, there's no other way of doing it. With town finishes like this, because of how vital it is. What a reaction, though. Sylphia reads it like a book and understands that Smash needs to make a move up the stairs. The second he does, he reacts and instantly puts him in the grave. Sonic's kind of playing the same, more passive play as what TSM's doing, and I kind of think it's good from these teams that are on the outskirts and not committed yet. They just need to find what the best place is to be able to receive all the teams once this circle pushes them out. Get into a position that you know is going to be good. That's a belter of a shot from a distance, and the problem is, I think in the back of my mind, Martin, when I look towards Sonics and I look towards Na'Vi, like, this isn't really where I want to be, being so close to water.
It's an area where they don't expect anyone to be, and there's not going to be too much kind of fight for it. So I think they were just trying to set themselves up to play around the area on the kind of north side of the rocks. But it's a rough area in general to kind of play out of, because it's going to go away from water. So being close to water is just not the way to go, because the center is going to be, you know, 300-400 meters away from water. This circle will go east no matter what. Yeah, so it's go perfectly east. Actually, it could have gone southeast as well, kept more of Yasnaya in. But as I was talking about, you want to play the outskirts of Yasnaya. The TSM is looking really good. The teams that have been kind of patiently waiting on the east side, Petrichor Road is looking really good. FaZe Clan has a few opportunities to play around it as well. And this area in general is super rough to play, because the way that the fields kind of work their way up towards the area of TSM is really flat and open, but still have a fair share of cover. Shots coming in from T1 and Na'Vi, they're both sending it towards the center now.
Yeah, it's a matter of just kind of flying in here and hoping for the best for everyone else who's not got a very prime cut of the beef. You've got to try and do whatever you can. Adder doing whatever he can out the side of the vehicle, but the vehicle has spun. Starlord is down. Machao spots him. Senya, next one to fall. These two teams on rotation are being picked off. Long K comes in for the finish onto Starlord. FaZe Clan opts to commit to the shack up towards the northern side. Takes the plateau. It's going to be beneficial for them now. It's all the way up against the edge, so long term, maybe not the most favorable spot, but for now, it's certainly workable. It's certainly playable. Na'Vi, they've just hit a team in the back on the pylon. Dudes, what is team? What? How do you not know that a team has pulled up behind you? Like T1, what in the world was that? So tunneled visioned onto the team in front of them. How can you not hear a car behind you? That is, I don't know. I have no idea. Like, why were you looking elsewhere when there's a team pulling in? Maybe they were just distracted by the smokes. and everything else going on around them. But certainly where we kind of emphasized it would play towards that northeast corner, towards the backside of Yasnaya is where you wanted to set up shop. For the other teams that have got there, it's good for now. Everyone else in the apartment blocks just raining hellfire down onto Na'Vi, hoping they can get a free frag. For TSM and Sonics, it's time to dine. Both of these teams know the location of what's going on. Tiamba is in the distance lurking. So they have to be very aware of this when LG Divine's just in the smoke here for Na'Vi. They've met one another once again. It's close combat scenarios. JN's going on the outskirts. Besto's very low. Answers back. Levi's down but not out. Getting the health off first. Once the med's there, he can then go again. Low balls the smoke in. Gives him an option to be able to run round. It's a fake smoke for now. It does the job.
Oh,
he puts Besto inside the car. He's jumped through it underneath. This is a sick play. He spotted the gun on the floor. Does the player know exactly where he is? And Besto, this is an IQ 9000 play. Has it worked? It absolutely has. He's burned him. He jumps in the vehicle for safety, puts down the molly, and somehow has managed to stay alive. Sonics, it's time to go. The circle's here. It's pushing them up onto the rock side. The smokes have been committed. TSM has moved into the tower to give them a little bit of elevation, but they're in the vehicles and moving away from this one. TSM says, you know what? Tiamba's here. You can deal with Sonics. We'll bail on this one. We want to keep ourselves alive, so the vehicles will go. A few members of TSM will stay behind, maybe to try and draw out the fight and keep Sonics into a position that they don't want to be in. Ira probably just getting ready to collect walkie-talkie and say, nope, time to go, my dude. Let's get the hell out of here. That's exactly what they're doing.
Good play.
And that's mainly, Martin, when we look at this circle, I mean, again, 50% of it from the pylons onwards, it's really unplayable because there's no hard cover.
Yeah, it's super rough. Right now, the shacks just above Yasnaya, where you can play on the backside, is actually super prime territory right now. You can set up a few cars and play around with the smokes, or even play inside and shoot uphill and towards the city. Shots coming in, but connecting a few onto the stuff. Chase scan and a rotational move here. I think they wanted to play this area that TSM was in, but it was not available. So they're actually going for that area. It looks like they're actually going for the shack that I was talking about. Chase scan. I remember back even in the day that they were trying to play that as well. Kepler's going to go down. Oh my god, Petrica Road. Nice pull up from them. They managed to get Navi's spot. A super playable spot as well. And a lot of hard cover for them now that they have 48 cars there piled up.
36, time to make some kind of advancement. And the only real ones outside of where all the Yasnaya circles pushing these teams, they're moving into DA. They're the first point of contact. You've got two of the teams in front of them towards this side of Yasnaya. It's going to be Furia and K7, or at least what's left of K7. Tiggleton. Information, not necessarily in abundance here. I do have some sort of a read on Tiamba. See that it's edging over to try and get that info. Target spotted. Target almost eliminated. It's a 1 versus 1 for this. Quick peek over. Flashbang over, and he should push on this instantly. Thank you very much, Tiggleton. Gets the job done onto the second. Now can get the res onto Shrimsy because ultimately there is no one there to get the revive on them, but necessarily he doesn't know that. So he'll try and lurk for this last player. Doesn't realize this last player, M200, dipped from that scenario a long time ago. He's the backup plan. He's the emergency note to be able to keep Tiamba in this one. So Sonics will be able to get themselves at least back on their feet. Oh no, you just burnt your teammate. What was that, Necro? Raspu down. K7 last player still in there being a nuisance and a point of contact. Marco, you've done wonderful things. Let's see what you've got now, because they are all lining up for you, buddy, but it's a 4 versus 2. This will be a hard defense, Martin, but he has the elevation.
Oh my god, on MK14, Tiggleton taking some shots, putting some damage into Yasnaya, and now they have 1 car left with a rotation to do here. TSM on the east side as well, shift centers quite nicely onto Faceland. They lost 2 players because they had so much pressure on from above. They thought that someone was playing the shacks already. I don't think they wanted to commit to them, and the area in general was quite nice for them. But let's see what Sonics is able to do. Remember, from this position here, Division X Gaming, they're going to have a lot of areas. And all the teams in the south side, they're going to have to make a move. I want to see E36 play this eastern ridge that we saw Petrichor Road crash onto earlier. And I kind of want to see DA try to contest them for that. Everybody else on the south side, they can jump into the apartments, play for placement, try to get a few kills into that, but they're not going to be able to get out of the city. This is a game that is destined to be a win for either TSM or Sonics come out of this one, because leaving the city is such a hard and such a death sentence.
For FaZe, they're pinned down. There's nowhere really to go there whatsoever. You move any team in the apartment block sees you, you're dead. For TSM and Sonics, and even though the hardcover may not necessarily be with them, they at least have room to breathe. If they can hit this little ridge line here, pile the vehicles up, it's going to be a nice place to kind of stay their feet. They got one person. It'll be Mamu eliminated. Done. Iraku down, but now the smokes will be able to... Oh, Vard's falling as well. Pure Boy, he's pushing into this one. Vard, we may have just lost him, but all of a sudden, Sonics, look at the distance on that. That's coming for the defensive stance, and actually done TSM a little bit of a favor and stayed at their feet for now. Tickleton is just backhanding them from distance. Sonics know, you know what, we get it. The circle's here. It's a rough terrain. It's a slow play. We might as well try and pick up as many frags as possible if we can do. With Wing coming onto Pure Boy as well. It's points in the bag that Sonics need. They are inside the circle, so a little bit of time for now.
You know what? That was actually a rough play. But I think that kind of they should have done a pull-up on them instead. Like, let E36 push them, let E36 put pressure onto TSM, and then they could, you know, pull up with the one card that they have. Running out from here, running downhill is going to be super rough for them. I don't see that happening. There's going to be so many players inside the city putting pressure on them. I don't see them surviving this ridge here. I think they're going to be having a rough time. But Furia also trying to get into a better spot. They're trying to infiltrate the apartments right now, and Necro and Kill Demo, they're trying to get over there. Kill Demo's arms were a little bit shorter than Necro's, and he couldn't get above that little ridge there, or little fence there. Unfortunately, Silson, some pressure onto him. Oh, he's spotted. He's going to be taken down. Easy points.
Sir, please get off the wire meshing. Do not jump on the wire meshing. Knocked off the back of it, and away we go. I think for to kind of touch on what you briefly spoke about, for Sonics, it's difficult because DXG's position's kind of dictating how the pace of this game goes for a lot of teams. The elevated line of sight that's provided by the apartment blocks, they pin down TSM, they pin down FaZe, and they basically deny land movement from Sonics. It's just, it's very claustrophobic. Like, the amount of movement you can do is very limited, just given how much land that they are covering because of the two apartments they are holding. So everyone towards the north, gunpoint. Not a lot you can do. Kind of stay your feet here. Wookie Bookie's bringing a vehicle back in the mass grave, I want to say. It's a bit of a mess. Through the smoke, Tickleton again with this MK is putting teams to work here, and it's a damn good job as well. Like, he's giving a bit of breathing room for all the times I've been speaking about DXG, and the land they are holding, consolidating themselves in that apartment has cost them. It's allowed SQ to move a little bit.
And now that all the teams inside Yasnaya, they have to move, that might turn the attention of Division X Gaming to some of the other teams and kind of enable Sonics to make a move here. Oh, no, not going to happen. Too much open space. We are talking about it. This is a rough run. You need probably like 10, 15 smokes to kind of enable yourself to get that far. A rough area in general. And also they had one car, one Dacia broken probably, or at least damaged. Mikey 500 putting more shots into this one. Turn from Mime though, connecting a shot as well. See some on the east side, they're chilling. Like, they can play super well from this position. They already put Wookie Bookie onto one of the kind of electric poles, or pylons if you may. And I think that's another MK14 on Uber. Oh my god, that is a scary, scary idea of that one. If you think he's good with a mini or with the MK, then look what this guy can do with a barrel and an MK and full level 3.
Who's the biggest benefactor of this though, man? It's TSM. They're watching this fight open up, and they're just third-partying completely. Like, for them, this is a nice little pivotal moment to be able to capitalize, take out players from FaZe, take out players from Sonics, let everyone else fight in the apartment blocks. For them, they don't really care. They have all the room in the world to move. That ditch and the pylons they can work around now. It's good. It's good, it's good, it's good. Meta still standing up into the top 6. Consistency looking good. I mean, top 6, top 7, 2 seconds back to back. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Meta today thus far. Another game to go. We'll see if we can keep up the consistency and keep them at the top. Start off at the top and finish on that after day 1 would be phenomenal. 7 kills in the bag for TSM. This is a nice booster from where they were down in 8th. Bit of a rough game towards game 2 with the 16th finish, but certainly shrugged that one off quite easily. Sparking, lurking on the side of the apps. Just trying to see if he can pick off any members of FaZe or maybe even Shrimsy as he makes his approach. Everyone else just sitting down, open the door. I dare you. And I very much doubt anyone's going to take this fight to them. Preemptive Molly, I kind of like that. If it clipped the backside of him, even if it just puts fire on the floor, it's area of denial and stops a little bit of movement. Circle homes in on TSM. 2 European teams, them and FaZe Clan, are the only ones who are sitting pretty for now.
In a really good spot now. The fights are going to be opening up shortly here with Metagaming, Detonation Gaming Wide, and Division X Gaming. Division X Gaming in the superior spot, I would say. They have the last apartment to be in. Now Sparking is trying to make a move here, trying to get into an area where they can open themselves up for something. Barrel in hand. Let's see if he's going to be able to do anything here. Fergus found Silton, finish him off. Oh, Smokes are coming out. Nice nade by Longcase. Shrimsy shots onto FaZe Clan and Uber. Oh, this is a lot of damage. 5 HP. He took way too many ticks for that when Woogie Boogie says yeet, and that is a point for them. Pressure from TSM right now onto the rest of the teams is immense. And now they need to shut down Division X Gaming to make sure that they get a good game out of this one here. 8C putting pressure on to Division X Gaming White. Kukuri is going to be going down. More shots coming out. Can you make something happen here? Can you get more points out of this game?
Yeah, Eitz is just doing whatever he can. Good job from Shrimsy before falling to pick up another frag. But again, it's TSM who are just watching all this open up. Eitz, the nuclear bomb hits. It's going to strike hard. Damage done to both the players as well. That is a belter of a nade to throw it that way, and it's really pinned them into a corner. Deny any kind of movement. Long K coming off the back of a big fragging game previously, probably feeling it right now and waiting for these players to be moving forward. This is, honestly, if Eitz got another rocket that he can send that way, that'll be just up and over. Look at the distance that he's managed to hit that, Martin. That is a phenomenal throw. As a solo player, just to be able to do whatever damage you can do. Even picking up frags at this stage, it's points in the bag. Ira holding on and just, I mean, it's a tap fire. It looks more like a spray at that distance. Straight into the side of Division X. And the bombardment just continues. All the teams on the opposing side are going to commit all the utility that they can at this stage.
This is an insane play from Longcase. Jumping in. Oh my god, he's going to trade it. Cease was there already. The barrel, the stronger gun, close range. IQ 500 joining in as well. Is he going to be able to get anything out of this? Barrel in hand. Gets 2 nice straight out from IQ 500. Fantastic play from Division X Gaming once again. 7 kills for them so far. IQ 500 alone. And I think Wookie is fully aware of what's going to happen here. Yeah, he's going to take such shots. He's still alive. They need to see if they can find him as well. As many points possible for this one. Ooh. Oh, they're going to find 8C first, and then the IQ 500 is inevitably going to be going down to this one. Is he going to deny? Yeah, he's going to deny. This is the smarter play. Oh, flashbang as well. Yeah, he's not getting out of there. Well played by Division X Gaming. Super well played by TSM, but with a massive help from Sonics. They put so much pressure onto E36 that enabled TSM to survive and stay in that area.
TSM topping the board. A nice win in the bag and 11 kills to boot. Phenomenal job from the boys to be able to solidify a position and just work on several teams from several different angles. It was always going to be a rough one given the circle and the transition that had to happen. Good job from Mitzi at the end to kind of scrap up whatever he could do. Like those nades, just I was hoping for some more because I love to see vert nades when players can just launch them up in the air and you just see them drop down. The explosions happen. To be able to find that target, it's a skill set in itself. Nevertheless, FaZe, they fall in third. It's Division X who capitalize on the damage. They take out Detonation Gaming, but it's TSM who get the job done. They're topping the boards. They take on the win. We are going to be very quick because the game in the back is getting ready for now. I'm going to chuck it ever so quickly over to the desk to break that game down before we get into our final match.
And I'm going to catch it ever so quickly and ever so deftly and throw it over to Cameron. TSM with the big win. That was a tough win, too. That was not an easy win by any means. They had to hold that ditch for quite some time. But I know you wanted to touch a little bit about some of the smoke plays that we saw there at the end.
Yeah, I just want to hit real quickly on late game utility and what we saw Division X do. At first glance, you wonder, because their entire engagement with Detonation Gaming, they were getting peppered by TSM, who, by the way, were third-partying every single fight that they could from their position in the end game, which is one reason they were able to rack up 11 kills. But you wonder, why don't they just smoke off between them and TSM so they could take a more fair fight with Detonation Gaming? Well, that meant that they would be out in the open for Detonation Gaming to peek out from behind those boxes in a better way. And so they essentially had to sort of, you couldn't smoke off Detonation Gaming, get shot by TSM. You couldn't smoke off TSM, you get shot by Detonation Gaming. They had to sort of break it down the middle and smoke wall themselves out. And even though they had a man advantage, time was running thin, which is why you saw Long K make that. I still love the play to run into that smoke. It didn't work out very well for him. Thankfully, IQ 500 was there to get the double spray down at the end. It's just, it's the importance of finishing fights as quickly as possible, because if they were able to finish out Detonation Gaming wide before that circle pushed them away from the cover that they had, they could have easily put up a much more fair fight against TSM. So being very quick and concise on your execution is one of the best skills that you need to learn as a squad in PUBG.
Some textbook utility play right there. Godspeed. I want to touch on the Sonics. They had a fantastic position there on the north side. We really liked what they did come circle 2 and 3. Whenever we saw that thing hard shift up to Yasnaya, they kind of avoided all the nonsense, went to the north side, and then they just kind of got stuck out there. Are we liking that in play, or are we thinking that maybe they could have tried something different?
No, I actually really like Sonic's play there. Overall, I think their initial choice to go around no lean, that compound just north of Yas Lake was good. They had good rotations from there. And then when the circle actually posted, they saw that they could either go either right next to or underneath TSM. And I think overall they played that really well. Nice heroic play at the end from Shrimsy there to get at least one more frag before they went out. And it was a good amount of points. So well played to Sonics.
Yeah, speaking of points, let's take a look at our overall standings once again. Look at that. Your boy, DXG and Metagaming still collecting points, and now we have a 3-way tie for first. Not that it matters too terribly much just yet. We still have 5 games left to play. I'll give you the option, Cam. You want to talk about the top of the leaderboard, or you want to talk about the bottom?
I've talked about the bottom enough. I feel like I can quickly just piece at the top. It's a lot of teams that we didn't really expect. LG Divine, terrible beginning to this event. Furia, a bit mixed mash. Yeah, they made it to the weekly final last weekend, but other than that one game, they didn't look too hot. Metagaming had looked really bad. GXG wasn't particularly inspiring. And then, of course, FaZe Clan, TSM, and Sonics, mostly good on all of their ends, but of course they ended up here this weekend. This is still overall more than half the teams in the top half of the standings. I wouldn't have necessarily pegged as being there, like, expectedly.
Absolutely. Well, Godspeed. We got to be a little bit concerned about the bottom of the lobby, because we're worried about who's going to take the last place spot, who's going to join MCG and DA, with being that team that doesn't get to play a week. So far, we've got a couple of big contenders down there, and some shocking names. Tiamba, T1, K7.
Yeah, I mean, those are, again, not teams that we would expect to be on the bottom at all. But yeah, there's a very real threat if they continue to play like this. You know, they just won't get to play just won't get to play next week. So I do really quick though also want to touch. We saw TSM take that win. They had really good rotation up from the north. They came down to the south, fought tooth and nail to keep that position, and then FaZe as well. I know we were kind of harping on FaZe, but to be honest, that's because they're still a world-class team. I still think they're one of the best teams, just period. They just have a slow start. But yeah, you also touched upon this as well, Poro, is that FaZe always has a slow start. They never really just come out of the gates immediately dominating. I mean, that whole mystique of FaZe Sunday, it's because they generally take time to ramp up and then get it done. And I think that's what they'll do here. I mean, yeah, we can talk about some of their misplays or misgivings or the fact that they've even ended up in this lobby, but you also have to remember this is 32 of the best teams in the world. So yeah, inevitably you're going to have some teams that you wouldn't quote unquote expect to be down there because the level of competition is just that insane.
Cardiac Clan always making their fans wait till the last second and have a little wiping the sweat off the brow before they eventually make it. Cameron, I want to touch real quick. We're about to get in the game. DA in 12th, 10 points. Is there a chance that they find themselves in 32nd again?
I mean, there's always a chance, especially when you look at the teams below them. There's a chance that any of them can really pop off and climb out of that spot. They're still not looking like the super strong team that we saw them before they ended up in last week's 32nd spot. They have 2 kills, 3 kills, 2 kills, which is very unlike them. I'm just hoping that this is just them shaking off the rust of not having played any games this week.
A little bit of rough sledding. Well, we are heading into our final game of the day. Now, keep in mind, everybody, we will be back here in a couple of hours with our Week 3 weekly finals. Make sure you stick around after this is all said and done. But we've got one more match to play here, and the boys who are going to be bringing it to us are Avenger and the Stims. Guys, take it away.
Thank you, gentlemen. Game 4, set match. Let's get into it. Erangel, the final match of today in terms of bottom 16. As Poro said, after this, we then move into our weekly finals, or at least the first day of it. Well, PUBG all day when it comes to the weekends for the next few weekends along. So thank you very much for joining us. We know it's early from some of you Europeans out there. Different time zones all over the world. Again, it is a global event, so no matter where you are across the world, thank you so much for joining us. It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a fun time today. A lot more stuff to come. Again, a championship Sunday tomorrow. Same for the next 4 weekends. For now, though, it's all eyes focused on this group. For this one, Martin, to round today off, I kind of want to be looking at your sub-10th position teams. Things are looking good at the top when we move towards DXG, Meta, Sonics, TSM, top 4, all above 30 points. Down at the bottom, though, this ain't good. Tiamba, 3 points. T1, 4 points. Like, I did not see Tiamba being this. Really, we've not spoke about them today, Martin, because they've not done anything.
No, they've had rough games overall, and it's their second week here in the bottom 16. So back-to-back, not qualifying. Obviously, not the situation that they wanted to. They're a team that's definitely capable of playing so, but again, format, everything is in general a rough situation for them. And if you're off to a rough start, like your mental is not going to be with you. It's going to be harder to kind of turn around. Moral is going to be low on your team, and it's in general just hard to get into it. Talking about teams that is here, for a second time, there's also in the bottom, the Nation Gaming White, 8 points. Not looking good for them as well. And these 3 teams here, like, you cannot go back to back, like not qualifying to the weekend. Imagine that you haven't had a chance at one of the weekly finals. That would be so rough. So I definitely want to see them step up for that one here. All right, drums out. Gray is going to get a car. They're going to go south. Circle has obviously popped, and it's on north on Circle. Actually sent us quite nicely in this Naya. Usually we see them go anywhere. I kind of want to see them end on the northern side. I love myself some style bindings. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it comes reminiscent of PEL when it was like, oh, the PEL season 1. You just saw ends always coming down from the Stalber. Just the trolls would come down and smash anyone in their path. It was yeah, it was always a fun time to be an Ends fan back in the times. I see them obviously qualifying this week, so we'll see them in the weekly finals. But yeah, Stalber, it's one of those, if you end up on the rocks, that I don't like. If you end up just stuck below everybody and you have to work your way up constantly, don't get me wrong, it's a rarity we ever. I mean, I don't really see it in comp anyway, but actually up in Stalber itself, you see a final circle up there. You get it on occasion in matchmaking, and it can be fun, but it also can be pretty cruel if you're just kind of stuck on the latter side of it. But yeah, I'm all for it. Feel free, send the circle up there, and away we go. Let's have some olden days, 2018 kind of esque circles, so to speak. But for this one, we'll kind of have a look and see who's more within throwing distance of that LG Divine in the center of Yasnaya, so whether or not they want to actually leave the safety net of that, it's their call, their decision. They might just take up residency in the back apartment, so it gives them options to move with the vehicles down low. Everyone else who's kind of further away, same principles what we saw previously. Navi have gone a bit further over by the West Coast, the old Tempo Storm run all the way up there. It's the American boys will be loving that one. Speaking about that, 2-2 split all the way across the coastline. E36 again, Zaki run in. Tiamba, south side of Georgia Paul. DA. Oh, come on, DA. Don't die here again on this hill. I know you really enjoy this one, but you lost a player early here. And now they're kind of caught out in no man's land. Very split, Martin.
More drive-bys, and I don't want to see them chasing this. It's not worth it at this point. But 10 points right now. It's obviously important.
They are doing.
Watch out, though. Oh, okay, yeah. There's a bit of Mad Maxing here is also fine. 4 points, sure. Guarantee yourself. They're also outnumbering them quite nicely there, so they could commit to this. It is a circle that is quite rough. You want to get into a good spot. I want to note though, FaZe Clan, they managed to loot all of Milta power, and all of Mini power to themselves. So if they are not stacked this game, I'm gonna be surprised. So they're all gonna be rocking level 3 vests and 8x's this game, that's for sure.
I'm really intrigued to see how many teams do commit pretty far north. I can see K7's rotating just above Yaz Naya around the pond area, kind of where we saw Sonic's take residency for a while in TSM. E36 and Furia, actually, funny enough, who's on your screen now. They'll be fighting for the west side of Stalber, just down the bottom of the hill on the plateau area before we work his way up. So there's a few teams within shooting distance of one another. DXG rotating all the way down to the southern end of the circle. A couple of more teams, you'll just see them come into view on the map ever so shortly. Maybe we won't. Hopping on board a different team. Meta and Sonics are also in transition. I'm glad we popped on board with this one so you get a lay of the land. You know where people are going to be going. Meta will have absolutely none of it. Maybe they catch one player who's the late straggler out of there. FaZe, not really seen them or given an update just yet. They're over on the East Coast, complete polar opposite to where Na'Vi are. Working their way up past Lapovka, maybe going a little bit further inward now. Meta committing to the fields, or maybe not. Those continue onwards. T1, slow and steady wins the race, or maybe not when you've only got 4 points across 3 games. And then further into the middle, well, so it's getting a little bit sparse. C36 are the only team that's really committed to the Snalba side, and at the moment, it's just kind of everyone positioning themselves up for the next push.
And also committing to areas here, trying to scout. Phase 1 is used for scouting, used for setting yourself up for further field and further play. So you want to get greedy here. You want to try to scout as much as possible, especially if you're one of the teams that is early in here. DA is doing exactly this. You know, they're going for these compounds, they're scouting, they're seeing, okay, if this circle goes super far east, are these compounds available? Can we take this? And yes, they can indeed. So they're going to go for a 2-1-1 split, greedy split. Really likes the kind of amount of territory you can take in phase 1, and you need to do that, especially if you're able to split something where you're either able to cover each other or where you're able to easily join each other again with 500, 600, 700 meters of space in between you, so you're covering a lot of area depending on where the circle goes. On the other hand, though, if this circle goes west northwest, the DA boys have to move anyway, but if it goes east, they will have multiple prime compounds that they can potentially play for further circles. Now TSM on a northern rotation, really far north, they're going to get it be able to get pretty far and pretty deep in if they want to. Na'Vi on a southeastern rotation, they're going to be going all the way and kind of coming in, and in a situation where they're coming in around the same time where the circle pops, they'll be still in their cars and they can make a decision on the go. Petroca Road, same, coming in from Novo, pushing in towards on the southern side, and it's very spread out. There's not too much commitment already, and the reason for that is the lake. The water in the middle, the Yasnaya pond, as you like to call it, Sims, has a huge factor in where the circle goes later. If it wasn't there, you would see a lot more teams go center, because obviously center, if you're in the center of the first circle, you have a shorter distance to the center of the next circle no matter what. Statistically over many games, of course.
Yeah, it can be a real nuisance given that it's kind of how it struts out with the river, and it just kind of sits in the middle when you get those 50-50 yin and yang style circles where it's like, okay, well, we don't really know which way we're going to go now. It really is just a hard commitment from your IGL or shot caller who just wants to make that final call, because it can be devastating for a team if they set up on the incorrect side of that push. You're then like, well, it's all your fault. It's like, no, look, it's just the way it is. And that's why we'll see sometimes teams going for the 2-2s. We're going for the splits, putting themselves in a position where no matter what happens, there's some kind of option. There's an exit plan. You know, there's a level of recovery that you can take from there. And that's what I think for some of the best teams in the world. It's their map positioning. Like, I always get a little bit concerned for Liquid as an example, where you'll see them go for 2-2s or even just 4-1 split single-handedly. They'll take the biggest amount of land in the world. You just think, my word, if anyone turned up now, like, you players would just be dead against the team. But it works so well how they pull themselves back, and instantly they're always the quickest in the cards. They're always the quickest to rotate. So far this tournament, it's been paying off, pretty damn well. So who am I to question it? I'll tell you what I do want to question. Are we going to see some AWM action? Love myself an Orm, love myself a Bolt action. Bring this bad boy into play as soon as possible. Circle updates. And it's looking mighty fine. Like it's going to be an almost identical circle, Martin.
Yeah, it is second circle, and it's a bit further east. I think we're going to see a lot of teams commit to the compounds out and around on the eastern side of Yasnaya, and a bit further south as well. Faceland will try to kind of replicate what they had before. Damonkia in a decent spot here as well. Mert and E36 going to be fighting here. This is not a prime territory. They are fighting for it, though. Points are easy. DA getting a few trades. Material is getting one as well. Mert getting knocked himself. Now it's going to be a rough fight for this one. Sonic's going to be drive-biving as well as Teast is going to go down. This is some insane game. Oh my god, Metralius and Smash and Mert is going to get 4 kills on E36, putting themselves some more points on the board, and I think they're potentially going to be able to get it all fall up, but we'll see that one later. Levi's, I think, just a K7.
Fight over by the police station and library. Levi's on the top of the building. I was just about to say, if he lowballs one of these off and finds the target, that would have been phenomenal, but the SWAT team is pushing in the building. A 4-man stack to try and clear this one out. He doesn't realize he's in jail, and that's where he's going to die, unfortunately. Survivor does exactly that. First player, JN, will fall victim. Xenan solidifies that, but Levi's position has been noted. Did it make it through the letterbox? It did not. It banked off the back of the wall, but it found its target regardless. Xenan, unfortunately, knocks his teammate out, so on the opposing side, the nades haven't been so fruitful. Bombardment opens up. Once again, FaZe Clan just launching all of their lethal utility towards a roster. We'll see if it does kind of commit to anything and we get a single knock onto the side of Smash, because if it does, that's the go signal. That's the time to strike best. I can see Metralius in the distance. You might have just copped in on the map in the lower right-hand corner. He's going for a much higher angle to try and really bolster DA's position on this hill. Whether or not he turns back into this and starts shooting down into FaZe, or he's just trying to find some kind of... Could you have literally been flashed any more in the face? Like that dude is just screen. Yeah. Like, well, this is where I am, and this is how I live for now. It's just looking into the sun during an eclipse. Good lord. Oh. What else have we got going on? Because it seems to be a little bit stationary at the moment with teams just posturing. A lot of Yasnaya teams committed to it. Yeah. Circle here is the next circle is obviously going to define what is going to be happening in terms of if is the Yasnaya's pond still in, is the water still in. That's where land ratio kind of goes into effect as well. And I mean, if this one goes perfect west, we will have a Yasnaya ending and pretty much an urban ending more than we had in the last game. But let's see what LG Divine will do here. Are they gonna push here, or are they going to be playing passively, or are they going to go into K7 in the police station and get sentenced? Circle, actually, very similar. Good. Circle. Oh, big yeet from Levi's. Doesn't quite make it. There was an attempt, but I get it. You have to tag the wall so you don't die when you hit the floor. I understand it. There is potential that he does get the recovery onto that. Burning away at the side. Finally, the flames do die down, so Yun can get the med off. Booyah. Do you have what it takes to hit that nade? If you land it, that'll be phenomenal, because that's the go signal the rest of K7 will need to advance forward. Does a fair amount of damage. The turtle still in his little shell, just hiding away, trying to hit the front side of it to see if he's repositioned. Clearly, position has gone unnoticed, but they've not shown themselves for quite some time. Levi's does need the res here, but it's how you get to him without showing face. Look at them all. They're all just hard holding the angle. Sonics is committing. Yasnaya. This leave will be their final place, or it will be their grave. Two of them make it through. The rest of the vehicles follow. All four players somehow enter this conflict unscathed, Martin.
Sparking picks up Mime, manages to get in and get out. He gets knocked though. Molly goes out. I don't think that's going to be able to go far enough. Don't think he's going to be able to get that one. Nice attempt though from Shrimpsy. Not a trade available for them though. A rough area to play as well. Also somewhat of a Hail Mary. It's out of 30% chance, 35% chance that it's actually going to end close to Yasnaya. Big chance it's going to end on the east side, northeast side. We'll see what that goes. Senyan though, this is a flashbang, doesn't matter, not any deadly. He's committing a bit. 8 smokes though.
I mean, if you're coming out of Yasnaya towards the end, you're going to need it.
Oh yeah,
especially if it's almost similar to what we've got. I can actually see Division X. I'm glad we've kind of homed in on this one. They're committing to this back side of the wall, so players should be in abundance of staying alive. It's only Dangche to try and hold forward. Nade's there. Low ball should come out. If he pulls the pin and just hits the wall, he might be able to get a fair amount of damage off. He is distracted himself. All the utility is flying his way. He's going to try and give as much as he's getting currently with a response. First aid will have to be ticked off due to it doing a fair amount of damage, but it's actually Tiamba. Linshun, different angle, different team. Knock will come in, and now this is dire straits for T1. They're all inside the building, and it's only Ada to try and hold the line. He's hitting the res. It's a questionable one, but he does have time. He should be back on his feet, but now instantly, he must have stopped for all but a second. The response is there. There's one, doesn't quite hit the 2. That's rather unfortunate. It was a valiant attempt. Maybe if it had just kind of left it of a different stance and gone. There's a molly in the window. Wait, who's this? Star-Lord from nowhere. MBK. The second one to fall. Long's there. That's 3 of them. He's got 3 with a molly. He's burnt one away and knocked one down. T1. The response is phenomenal. You remove 2 of our players, will batter your entire team. That is a good recovery. 4 points for the trade-off of losing half. I'll give him that.
Yeah, and now we see a perfect Yasnaya circle. It's super censored. We're probably going to have a lot of urban fighting, and it's going to smack off right now. This Athletics go down 14. Shrimps and Tiggleton still left alive. They're in a pretty decent centered spot right now. And Faceland is moving in as well. They're going to be rotating. Shots are coming out and pushing onto them. And they're probably going to be trying to get in around the same area that Sonics was actually, or maybe even commit to one of the apartments. We'll see. Metagaming is there, ready to catch them. Are they going to be getting something out of this one here? Shots coming out, connecting, not just yet. We'll see though. Fuzzface, he's going to be found by Silson with a nice headshot with SKS. Senyan able to get that one. I think they might be able to trade. Oh yeah, he's inside, so they're fine. He's inside the house, so shots are coming out, connecting. Silson, more pressure coming in. Smokes are up. They're going to be able to play this out kind of late. Now, the teams that are still outside the circle currently is Damwonkia. They're pushing Petrica Road, who has a ridge to play. Petrica Road is completely aware of Damwonkia's positioning right here. TSM is also on the outside of the circle on the northeast. They could potentially third party or pull up on a situation where they could play around this area here. We'll see. There's an Alamo just north of this one here. We can see how that turns out. And Damwonkia, it's 2 guys trying to pull up, reposition. Sengyang finds 1 X-Left taken down. Gray is going to return, not getting a knock on kill though. And now, nice shot here by Gray. Disengaged from the fight. Sengyang and 21 HP.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal response and a fair amount of damage. At least kind of stay their feet for now. Ags left is, I don't think there's recovery at the moment. They have to deal with Damwonkia first. If they went for the res, it would ultimately spell death from under. Lurking towards the top side. If he just wraps on this is going to be phenomenal. But unfortunately, it's time to ruin the party on the side. Wookie Bookie comes in with the bolt job done. Under, down. And now everything that they were trying to backbuild has been ruined by TSM from a different angle. Petrichor Road needs to be careful as they enter this one just because of the signs that TSM have given off. They are repositioning with the vehicles. They've done enough damage to kind of slow this one down. Force the fight. Up and over we go. Down one Kia. 1, 2, 3, 4. All dead. Long has just murdered them. The entire team wiped from the face of the planet in 13th position. That is phenomenal. The right time to strike. Really, there was nothing else to do but go forward because of Na'Vi punching in the back lines. Senya is pulling up on this one. So Petrichor Road, Martin, while they may have got one team down instantly, death is coming for them. Like, they're going to have to fight tooth and nail to get through Na'Vi now.
Yeah, Na'Vi actually pushing out here outside the circle. They actually have the yellow to the south side, but they're going to be trying to go for the point. Ooh, close. Petrichor Road is going to take a car and reposition. Meanwhile, TSM actually has a really good lineup on them. Connects a few. Gyro gets one of the bullets on it, and now they're going to have to move as well. These guys need to send it somewhere. They're probably going to send it to one of the dips that ENCE used to play in these areas here in the phase 1 of PEL. We'll see how well they manage to get there. 4 cars available to them. Actually a good rotation, and they're going straight for that dip I was talking about. Often played by ENCE, and a really, really good dip in this area. Na'Vi, Besto's still alone here. They're not going to go for it. Besto's alone in a compound that is in. Meanwhile, there's 30 people inside Asnaya. That is going to be rough.
Yeah, Wicked with the instant removal of the head onto Ira. Replay still up for TSM, but now they've committed to these positions. That's ultimately where they will be staying. Dire Straits, given the fact that you have Meta who can just overwatch all of this one with the apartment blocks. You've got Na'Vi on the other side. Besto, you touched on it with the yellows. Hold on. Long, are you feeling this one? You feel like a quick 1-2 onto Na'Vi? They're getting in the vehicles. This should be the go symbol for you to get out and try and mow them down before they can evacuate the situation. But Na'Vi have. They've got away from this with their lives. They've regrouped to... Well, they will regroup to Besto. I'm just looking to try and cover the cross on the way out. Grey will fall. Tiggleton picks him up. That's a quick knock and a flush to the head. And he's doing its work towards the side. Meta still overwatching all of these fields and all of these fights that could unfold in front of them and give them 3 points. And it feels like it's just a fight from the opposing side. We started where Yasnaya, you had to push out Martin and move towards the north, and now it's almost the flip reverse. Yasnaya fights and everyone will have to push out to the south in the fields.
Yeah, and it's going to be a rough one for these teams. I mean, the teams benefiting from this is the teams that is the last team to leave the apartments. Teams in the north are going to have a rough time trying to get in there. See already Fury, LG Divine trying to get into a better spot inside the circle, but there's just so many teams that is putting pressure onto them. Also, the teams in the north, Destination Gaming Wide, Tianva, Sonics even, FaZe might even have some troubles unless they manage to infiltrate one of the apps and try to get into a spot for that one. We'll see. June has the number on Raspu. It's just a matter of picking up the phone and calling. Nope, he's going to be found by Machao.
Calm before the storm. Circle pulls all of Yasnaya out. Holy, that is devastating. Let's kind of take stock of how little cover there is going to be once we get out of this. Yes, you have the wall, which Meta should be able to take control of. If not, just leave Silzen up in that corner of the building. Yes, he will die when the next circle updates because you won't be able to get down the stairs in time, or you just yeet it off the roof and kind of hope for the best. But still,
area. It's kind of an area that you can play. I feel like the teams that managed to get a good spot onto that one, they might like enable them to maybe take on TSM and Petrichor Road later, because they're also only 2 guys alive. But again, everybody's going to be fighting for that prime area. So the question is, do the teams now turn around, focus on getting the points here, or do they focus on trying to go for placement and make? And I actually expect, maybe both Meta and Jamba just to turn around and go for kills here. So Tickleton here, obviously being the fragger that he is, he's going to focus on getting as many points as he can from away from this because he's not in a prime position.
And one team that should be farming here, Martin, in my opinion, is Na'Vi. Like,
oh yeah,
the hill rolls up towards them, and most importantly, you can get on top of those roofs pretty damn easily. Everyone else has to come towards them. It's an open field. It's just going to be a shooting range for them. So I'm hoping Na'Vi can really make something of this. Yun loses his head. Here comes in with a Car 98. Smokes will continue now for Detonation Gaming. White. But Shrimsy with a Hail Mary comes in, nade 2 for 1, and Detonation Gaming towards the end of the game. Same scenario, unfortunately for them. Another banger of a nade just hits them, strikes them hard, and they do fall down. The rest of them will continue at least. I say the rest of them, it's only Machao, I believe. Last player standing. Just need to advance forward, but with so many teams here, this is just manic.
LG Divine out in 11. Wicked putting on a lot of damage for this one here. Is he going to spot one? Tickleton's going to find Machao, and well, points on the board for them. Shots coming out. This is a rough one. Minx is in a crawling situation where he tries to survive as long as possible. Wicked can actually play this roof for the duration and the remainder here. Tickleton 3 kills. More shots coming in. Ragnaldinho is going to find T1. Points on the board for them. Aqua 5 has to get around here, and more shots coming in now. He's going to go down to blue now. Yep. Oh, he goes out and gets him. Sonic's trying to go for the corner. I like that. Jump in the car and sit there for the rest of the game.
Whatever gets you the points at the moment. Sonic's is up in second, so if they can drag some placement points away from him, fair play. Tickleton in the probably one of the more strongest spots, at least for the late game. TSM have got opportunity to try and hold back Petrichor Road, but that's the thing. It's that Petrichor might split them at the wayside if they come forward as a full 3-man stack.
Look at the leaderboard.
TSM is pretty split. That's my only problem for them. They're quite sparse apart.
Leaderboard right now. Meta 8 kills, first place 43 points. Sonics 42 points, 7 kills. Super impressive performance by these guys so far. Division X Gaming as well, 36. They're really putting themselves ahead here. They want to get as many games as possible in the Survival Series.
Tickleton. Let's go up in the door. Oh, never mind. Petrichor Road has finally turned up to TSM. Very, very little health on the side of Wookie Bucky. Goes for the quick hard peek on the Car 98. See if you can see Long lurking, but the smoke's there. He will dip on that one. Uber onto Mamu. So FaZe Clan getting involved at distance. Tiggleton, time to wrap, time to move. Very aware of what's going on here, but I think the same principle goes for every other team. Knows what's about to happen. Tiggleton spots him, but the nade's already there from the side of Meta. They're flushing him out. And time just slowly ticks away for Tiggleton. And the rest of the utility being committed. There's absolutely nothing he can do. Multiple flashbangs, stay his feet. FaZe Clan just jump ahead of Meta. In terms of position on the circle, they're trying to box them in and disallow them movement outside of this wall. A lot of smokes to work with, but ultimately I think manpower is in the side of FaZe Clan.
Yeah, they're in a really good spot here. So is Navi. Gustav's going to find Ragnaldinho. Navi is going to pick that one up. Senya with a good one for that. Now, Petrichor Road and TSM, they have a fight here that needs to be finished before they can kind of join this one. Woogie Boogie is in a decent spot. Long getting into a really good area here, and 0 kills for TSM so far. He has to try to smoke himself. He has 2 more smokes, 3 mollies. This is the amount of utility that you really need to set yourself up with for a late game. A really good amount of utility being used and available to them. Gustav, FaZe 6 kills. Dunya's going to be pushing some more into this one here. Circle is closing. Let's see how this one is going to wrap up. FaZe is in a rough spot. They did not get any slice of the circle, any slice of the pie for this one here. They will need to push TSM. They will need to commit a lot of utility for that one, and Navi is going to just spread out on the whole western side and put on pressure on them.
You can see for Navi how close they are to that middle pack, and jumping up into the top half of the leaderboard. A win for them here would be pivotal. Remember, The scoreboard sets you up for the more opportunities, the more chances you get to move forward to the weekly survival. Getting up there, and the higher you finish your place in rankings, the quicker you get into that competition and try and fight for the weekly finals. Big old nade comes in. Just a little bit to the right-hand side. Had that been more towards the sandbags, it probably would have bounced over. Smokes are down. Time to move for FaZe. This blue will absolutely kill them if it touches them. There is a smoke position that they can take up residency in. A big old nade goes down and does a hell of a lot of damage to TSM. Makes them so weak. Allows the easy pickup from Aitzi. And now all of a sudden Na'Vi realizes what's going on here. They've read the land. They realize that FaZe is basically just on dire straits and surviving in mere grass at the moment. Zero hard cover whatsoever. TSM's begging for dear life to their right-hand side. Petrichor Road still silent but deadly in the banks. They have to be aware of that. But Na'Vi, it's time to shine. The CIS engine has finally awoken. And they jump them up into the 20-point gap. TSM 2, Petrichor Road 1, Long hoping. Again, same principle as you saw previously with the last player. Maybe this is just an opportunity for him to deny points. Say, you know what, someone wants to come across, fair play, I'll take a free frag, but for now I'll just kind of sit back here. Na'Vi is sending it. Vehicles in hand, quick drive-by if possible. If not, nice little peek, cheeky peek with an A going up. This will surely give away the position for Vard. If you get a knock on a flush, it's 3 points for TSM, but ultimately just waiting for them to come over this hillside. Wookie Bucky is there, but how much cover and how much support he can actually do. With 4 players from Na'Vi standing, you have to anticipate that they can take out all these individual players split from the team individually.
Long trying to just get as many points he can from this game, obviously. It's going to be snaking. He actually got a really good ridge just above and kind of high ground compared to TSM. But is Na'Vi going to spot him? He have 3 kills so far. Impressive run for him today so far as well. Good KD. The amount of damage put out for him. Broken Vesto. No utility. No first aid. Vlad is going to be taking on Na'Vi. Can he do it? Or will Na'Vi prevail this one?
It's going to be the domino effect. As soon as one thing happens, everything should just kind of kick off, and there it is. Vard strikes back. Na'Vi hammered down onto TSM. Long is 17 HP. Not a great deal he can do whatsoever. Another touch from the blue, and it's a GG. Kemba should surely see this one and be able just to solidify this game from distance. He's hiding between mid-near smoke, but it doesn't matter. Na'Vi. Finally. The boys come alive at the right time to do it. The final game of Saturday. 10 frag points in the bag and a win. 20 points send them flying up the leaderboard and escalates their journey back to greatness. We need to see something else tomorrow. We need to see the same kind of performance to at least jump them up into that top 5, top 6 area. But for now, that will do. That's a good way to round out today.
Yeah, and game so far, super top heavy. Very, very top heavy. Very well played. And I like the meta that and the kind of adaptations that we see from these teams, because they go war to start fragging out. We see a lot of points being put on the board from kills and a little less focus on the placement. So you need to be able to adapt in between the weekdays and the weekends, because this is where you need to get the points on the board to make sure you got more games for the next weekly survivals.
Couple of teams to note on fantastic performances today. Meta Gaming, like, this is going to do wonders. I think that they've had a bit of a difficult run thus far, but to be able to round out today, I believe in first, maybe second place, that should see him kind of solidified for tomorrow. We'll see how tomorrow goes and if they can kind of bridge off of that and continue forward. Sonics, again, fantastic day. Generally, I wouldn't expect any less. They've been a consistent team so far. These down in the bottom 16, it's just one of those things. We know the whole scenario of getting to this point can be very devastating how it works. But another team, again, I'll kind of leave Poro open to it so you can discuss it more once they get back to that point. But DXG, another phenomenal and fantastic day from them, especially with frag points. It's put them up there in the points at least towards that top 3 section. For now, for me and Martin, I don't know about you, Martin, I'm going to go back to bed. It's been an early day, but then again, I've got loads of coffee, so maybe not. We are done. We'll be back here tomorrow. I think I'm going to be with Cameron tomorrow, so different casts are switched up a little bit. But for now, back to the desk to break down today in all its glory.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, and that is going to do it for the 4 games for today. TSM almost get 2 in a row, but in the end, it's going to be Navi. But another European. I mean, that was a lot of teams from EU up there in the top 4 that needed to get some big points. And I mean, it's been the Yaz day on Erangel, and that's apparently worked out well.
I mean, the amount of city endings just in general in this event so far for the PGI.S has been a little out of control, to say the least. But yeah, Navi desperately needed that. Yeah, it has been nuts. Navi did need that win, though. They played very patient. They took their time. You know, they obviously played the circle well with what they were given, and they were able to pull out that win. Regardless, I really love some of the plays coming out of Petrichor, FaZe as well, and even Sonic. So as we see here with Tig, you know, with 4 frags. So overall, I think it was a really good day, though, as both Sims and Martin were talking about for Meta. I thought Meta played absolutely amazing. I know we were talking about the desk, and yeah, I'll let you guys elaborate on that as well.
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, you see Sparking up there once again in our damage leaderboards. Meta coming in here, 46-point day, Cameron. 46-point day.
Really, really, really good day for them. And I'm looking back on how well they did. They got 33 points over the entire weekend, the previous weekend, the bottom 16. Like, if you just now tuning in, you haven't been watching any of the events so far, Meta are in that pocket of, shall we say, 5 to 6 teams, maybe a little more than that have really struggling. So it's so exciting to see them come up and perform so well here today. They didn't get a win. You do not see them on your screen because these are all the winners of today's matches, but they got 2 seconds. And even their 2 Erangel games, good number of kills, even if they didn't have that high of placements.
I mean, they look strong. They look strong from beginning to end. And here we go. You see our overall standings. Meta sitting in that first place spot. Sonic's right behind them. DXG in 3rd as well. But, you know, Godspeed, the fact that Meta is sitting up there at the top, 46 points, 0 wins, that's almost more impressive given the lobby, isn't it?
It is. That's incredibly impressive because of their consistency. The fact that they didn't get a win and they were racking up kills. I thought their positions were good. I mean, even that first game, which we talked about, it wasn't a throw by any means. It's just, I felt like Meta could have potentially even won that first game. But regardless, I think they've been playing really, really well. One of the teams I'm actually kind of disappointed in was Detonation Gaming White. I think all 3 of us were really impressed with them so far over this event, especially coming out of Japan, but they couldn't really get it together. They couldn't really get a foothold today as far as the rotations were a little sloppy. C's tried to do some really nice stuff, winning a few fights for himself, but overall they lost team fights as well. Regardless, DNG, a little disappointing, but still really like that team.
Well, our 2 teams that are on the bottom, single-digit points on the day, T1 and Tiamba. That is rough stuff. But the good news for them, and the good news for all those teams on the right side of the leaderboard, is we got 4 games left to play. So we will be back here tomorrow, same crew. A little bit of a mix-up as Cameron is going to leave us on the desk and go join Sims on the cast, while we will have Mr. Avenger on the desk with us to walk us through the final 4 games of these week 3 bottom 16 placements. But that is going to do it for our cast. Stay tuned, because in a couple of hours we will bring you the first 5 games of our weekly finals, and I know everybody's excited to see how that plays out. We'll see where the money goes, who's going to take it this time. But thank you so much for joining us. I have been Porosaurus. This has been Godspeed and Cameron. Once again, Avenger and Sims on the cast. So guys, make sure you tune in tomorrow and tune in a couple of hours for those weekly finals games. But thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.